Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. A vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because, well, we needed people to be able to talk to, and you're it. Part of this is to follow through with the old adage, sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I am your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble all over the place. You can find me pretty much everywhere under that name, Shujin, and that's about as normal as this particular episode is going to be for you. There have been a number of developments that have happened in the news over the last, well, let's face it, it's gone from hell to handbasket over the last week. And after seeing a couple of folks who were like, look, we really need to hear some of your voices again, I made it my point to go ahead and get some of the folks from the Atheists On Air community to kind of come back for a little bit and have our respective families come back and talk with you. Representing the folks over at Barroom Atheist, Bill and Susie, good to have you guys with me tonight.
Hey, what's up? We're getting settled here, but great to be here.
And
Nice to hear your voice again, Bill.
True that. From Beyond the Trailer Park, which technically is a spin-off of the original Atheists On Air and the Trailer Park spin-off itself. Beth, good to have you, hon.
Great to be here, and it's good to hear everybody's voices again.
And arguably the most reasonable alum of the whole group, actually from Atheists On Air, Professor Stephen, thank you for being able to have the time to come out with us, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, and for everyone out there, I want to say I told you so.
Yeah, let's start off with that right away. I don't think it is any... I don't think that it is any surprise from those of us who have been, paying attention to the body politic for the last, 50 years, that exactly what Professor Stephen said is exactly right, man. We freaking told you.
Said it before the
That's what
election.
Bill said too.
Before the 2016 election.
Yep,
We
I
said
begged
it.
and pleaded.
Yeah,
Now
we did.
And what's sad about it is I'm in a Republican stronghold area, basically forever Trumpers, and trying to talk any sense into these people.
Well, they've given Lee
Eh.
those reasons, so
It's like I give up.
yeah, it's not worth your time and your energy, to be honest.
Unfortunately
No,
for a
it's
lot of
not.
these folks.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's like I asked one person the other day, I said, what has Donald Trump and his administration, not just Trump, but the whole GOP party, done for you
yeah.
personally? And you want to know what the answer was?
Oh, I've got a pretty good idea, but go for it.
He built the wall. I'm like, you do realize that the walls are not built about
they don't.
300, 3 miles of it is, and it's already falling down?
Yeah, and explain to me how that helps you.
Yeah, and that's what I said. I said, how does that help you? Oh, well, basically,
Yeah.
the general gist from the conversations I've had are, well, it sees my job as they're collecting unemployment because they got laid off due to COVID.
Can I go Star Trek on you? I have to.
Well,
Oh, yeah, go
by
for
all
it.
means.
considering I decided to wear my Star Trek tie, yes, I actually pulled this thing out of
Do
retirement.
Star Trek.
All right. Mirror, mirror, guys. They live in the mirror universe. It really is that much of a
Oh,
a
it's
disconnect. They live in the mirror universe. And to those people, it's true that wall's built. They believe
Yeah.
that. They believe that like
And
they believe in Jesus.
Mexico will pay for it.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the underlying belief, though, is that all their problems are because of people that aren't like them, specifically brown people, but anyone who isn't like them. In fact, I've come to realize that what a liberal, quote unquote is in their mind is just someone they disagree with.
Yeah.
If you don't,
Well,
if
so
you
is a
don't agree with it-
Marxist, socialist, and communist.
exactly, and it's the same
They
rhetoric.
couldn't, yeah, and they couldn't even tell you what the difference is between the three.
No, no, they
Because a
couldn't. They don't know
Marxist,
what,
a socialist, and a communist are three different ideologies.
and they'll throw in
Okay,
Nazi in
we
there
just
too
don't
and say
agree with
Nazis
that.
were socialists.
Yeah. Oh God, that's my favorite one.
Yeah, the thing is though, is it's the same rhetoric the Nazis did use though. It's if you really dig down, it's anti-Semitic at the base of it. Like even QAnon is really about the evil Jews that run the world.
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like, it's the same shit that they've been spouting since
Well, it's about giving.
Nazi
1932.
Germany.
It's about
Yeah.
giving people someone to blame for all their problems.
Exactly. Instead of blaming the people that are actually responsible for their problems.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is something that we've talked about on HCTV so many goddamn times. It's just it's absolute. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go ahead and remind folks that might be watching, because I'm not watching the statistics because I don't do that. If anybody is watching, if you would like to chime in, there are a couple of ways that you can do that. And please forgive me for not thinking this is completely off the cuff kind of thing tonight. So my apologies. If you're watching live on YouTube, feel free to use the live chat. It is open and it is available. It is going to show up so that I'll be able to see it. It'll be up on the screen for everybody. Also, if you are on Discord and you are a show host, ping me one way or another. Let me know that you're there. I will see about rolling folks in as best I can, and when and or if they would like to. Those of you that might be watching who are otherwise like on Facebook or something, I don't have any real access to Facebook because I have to reboot into Windows, and I decided that I didn't want to put very many logins under Windows because I don't trust Windows. Can't imagine why. Anyway, leaving that aside. The problem keeps coming freaking down to in-group, out-group mentality. And it's been the first that I can truly remember it was listening to the Reagan. That's when, and reminding you that this would have made me at that time, all right, no, wait a minute, 10, 11 years old? Yeah, it would have made me 11 years old. And I even recognized the whole mudslinging thing because at the time it was tax and spend Democrats or tax and spend liberals. I forget which one they were using. But the problem of
Tax
it
and
is...
spend Democrats.
Yeah, but the problem was, once you tax the money, what the hell are you supposed to do with it? That's what it's there for. So all this bullshit about doing the whole they aren't us, they're them bad, even though we're going to do the same thing, is not a new thing. It's just the level has been cranked up to 14.
Yeah, it's
the
very
last
not
couple of
new. It
years.
dates back to prehistory, but in America, this current trend, I would say, started probably in the 60s with the Southern strategy that the Republicans did under Nixon.
Yep.
It actually
decided
goes
they needed-
back even further than that if you really dig.
Yeah.
If, it goes back to the about 1932-ish.
Or the John Birch
And-
Society and all that.
Yes, and what it is, and it brings in the whole theocratic movement as well. I mean, this is and I've said this even on Beyond the Trailer Park and on my blog, is that this strategy that they've had, the Republicans in general, is one that they have put in place. And as you said, it really started coming to fruition with the Southern strategy. I remember Richard Nixon when, shit hit the fan with him. And the whole Southern strategy, and that's about the time Democrats and Republicans switched ideological sides.
That was the beginning of
Oh.
it. The switch lasted about 30 years before, with people
Right,
leaving one
right.
going to the other. But yeah, that's when it started. And really what had happened was, this is my opinion, but I think this is what happened. So you had the classic conservatives who were just really,
Mhm.
really rich people who didn't want to pay taxes. And
Yeah.
they realized that they wanted to, excuse my French, fuck the poor.
Mhm.
But they need to get votes, and it's hard to get votes from the populace if you have that platform. But they realize that welfare and other things are also benefiting people of color. And so with the Southern strategy, they convinced them that the people they were going to fuck over were going to be the people of color. And suddenly
Mhm.
poor people are voting to fuck themselves over because of their
Mhm.
racism. And suddenly
Yep.
the racists become conservatives because there's nothing specifically conservative about being a racist. But they found a way to make it the same thing in a way.
Yeah, there's
It's
a lot of
ahead.
pieces about the whole damn thing that are absolutely it's annoying because the whole
very.
damn thing about if you don't pay attention to history, you're doomed to repeat it. And yes, I know, I'm butchering the damn quote. It doesn't really much matter at this point. I just remember it was Satayana. All right, leave me alone.
Mhm.
What hurts the absolute most, not just we knew, not just we told you, not just we warned you, but that if people had actually listened, paid attention to the early schooling for history, these things would have been far and away more apparent.
Well,
But
the thing is that ignorance is also part of the plan.
yeah,
And apathy.
Yeah. Well, it's like I
You know-
have. Go ahead, Susie.
Being one of the ignorant on history type people, it's funny. I listen to you guys talk, and you're talking about stuff I absolutely know nothing about. I was alive when Nixon did things. I was alive when Reagan did things. But the Southern I have no idea what that is. So I am one of the ignorant of history and doomed to repeat itself. However, that being said, even I am enough of a humanist and a person with empathy to see that things are just going bad. You know?
Mhm.
yeah, it's even more worse than you think because your microphone is not on. You're talking through Bill's.
Oh, thanks.
Wouldn't be a show without equipment issues, you know?
Bill, fix it.
It
for
feels
me,
like home.
right.
True that.
Hear me?
Now you're still going through his.
Tech
Hello.
issues.
Well,
That's
Yeah.
a little better.
Do I have to do this?
Bingo.
that's good.
Okay.
There you go.
I'll just be in it.
Well, I think, Susie, though, I mean, if there's something you don't understand, you have the wherewithal to at least look it up a little bit. You
Yes.
might not do a deep dive. You
And
have the smarts, but you don't just totally ignore it. I mean, a friend of mine the other day, she went off on my Facebook page because I was being too critical or poo-pooey or something. I made a post about Trump or something, and it's like, you don't realize that if it's more when Trump replaces Ginsburg, you no longer exist
Right.
because you are gay.
Right. And it's
people like-
just don't get that.
And it's like, I have another friend who is a person of color who is so pro-Trump. I'm like,
That's so silly.
I'm like, dude.
Sorry, that was my phone. Shut up, phone. Thank you.
What?
That was you twice, Beth.
Don't worry about
Okay,
it.
I
Don't
was
worry
like,
about
okay, by saying things twice, oh yay. Yeah, I mean, it's not. It's like I said to her. I said, I'm upset about this because I know, as a lesbian, as an atheist, as a disabled person, as one who makes under poverty level, I'm screwed.
Yeah, me too.
Because all four of those people or individuals is who the Republican Party or the GOP or whatever you want to call them now, the Nazi Party, they want to get rid of those. They want to get rid of us.
Yeah,
They do. They don't want to just go out and shoot us. They just want to let us starve to death without any kind of recourse.
Yeah.
Because when I say us, I'm a white, cis-ish, hetero male, so I'm usually the type of person who doesn't care because I don't have a dog in this race. But I'm currently jobless. I am where I am on unemployment because I was fired for dumb reasons.
damn.
But my parents are living off Social Security, and if
Which is
Trump does,
going to be gone.
yeah, Trump said that. Now it's funny. You'll see political commercials claiming that the Democrats are going to ruin it, but that's what the Republicans do. They lie, and then they do.
Oh my
Trump
God,
said
the lies.
And it's projection.
Yeah, it is projection,
Oh,
100%.
huge.
It always is. If they get rid of Social Security, my parents' lives are fucked. We're going to be penniless.
Yeah, let's just call it what it is. It is eugenics through
Yeah.
apathy.
Yes, it is. That's
Ooh,
exactly what it is.
That's a nice way to put it.
It's
And
exactly
the
what
thing
it
that
is.
drives me crazy is that the majority targets of this are the ones that vote for him and vote for people like him.
Because they are firmly convinced, for whatever stupid reason, that they are doing better, even though every objective measure says otherwise, because they get to go ahead and be the Archie Bunker to the rest of the world because they're allowed to be.
And it really comes down to one issue because of the evangelicals. During that Southern strategy that I mentioned before, a bunch of evangelical preachers got together and decided that the issue they were going to center around was abortion. And so they decided to preach in every church and throughout the country that abortion was the same as murder, even though they have no biblical stance for that at all. They did it. They decided to do it, and they convinced all these poor, uneducated people that abortion is baby murder, and that anybody who's a liberal is for it. So therefore, they're evil. So they're in. All they think about is, eventually, if we get enough Supreme Court nominees through Trump, they're going to outlaw abortion, and that means we won the moral fight. We banned baby murder, and now God will bless our country. That's what they're thinking.
Well,
With a whole bunch of children that the Republican Party will absolutely throw in the trash.
Exactly. And if you
and
ban
totally
abortion,
ignore.
Okay,
Yeah,
tough love.
Yeah.
They have won that fight.
Yeah.
Let's stop talking about if. They won.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is no way that the Democrats can stop the nomination.
Yes, they can.
It's not even about this one nom. They've got a 5-4 on the Supreme Court. Without this nom, they've appointed 187 federal judges over the last 4 years. This fight was lost in November of 2016.
Yep.
Need to face that and need to move forward. It's now 1972 again, and Roe is dead.
Yeah.
Roe is dead.
It'll become a states' rights issue. Some states will have abortion and some states won't.
And someday we'll raise it to the Supreme Court again, and we'll do all the work that our parents and grandparents' generations did again, because we messed it up 4 years ago. We just got to say that.
Yeah.
We got to be willing to say we messed it up.
Because let's be
As
honest,
a country, we messed it up.
what happens whenever you get rid of Roe versus Wade, you don't get rid of abortion. You make it almost impossible to get one if you're poor, and you make it. But if you're wealthy, you can get one. There's no problem there.
And it'll depend on where you live.
Yeah.
By the way,
Yeah.
Since we mentioned it earlier, yes, we do have a couple of helicopters coming my way. That's nice for a change. I'm way the hell out in the sticks. So for
The
me to hear
black
a
ones?
helicopter, it's dark out right now. I couldn't tell you one way or the other. But live chat is over there. Jazz, hi on. You take care of yourself over there. And Diablo, welcome down. the biggest problem that we've got right now, yeah, we can go ahead and we can Monday morning quarterback the whole damn thing, and it's only going to be helpful for figuring out what we're going to be doing as we move forward, which
Right.
we don't exactly have a hell of a lot of pull on, the folks who are in the position of doing something.
Right.
The best that we can do, which is kind of the reason why we're collectively here, is that we want to kind of be here for you guys. I may have romanticized it just a little bit more than normal, but I still consider Atheists on Air the hub where a lot of us got our start. And by us, I don't necessarily mean myself and Beth and Bill and Professor Stephen, although Professor Stephen kind of, yeah. But there are a number of other groups that got started with it. Not the least of which is No Religion Required. I did put out a lot of invites to a lot of groups, and I don't have any idea if they're going to be showing. I would sincerely hope so. I did chat with Cash earlier. I do not expect him to be on, but the fact that I got the chance to check in on him, see how he's doing, that's always good. Every once in a while I do. He, well, to the best of my knowledge, he's not flat down on a gurney somewhere, so that's a good start right there.
He seems to be doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then
he can't
yeah,
podcast. There are reasons.
yeah, there are a number of them, and not the least of which is he stinks. Nobody really wants him coming on.
Right. I'm glad you said it.
Somebody had to. I still have the last time that we all got together, and you went ahead and said, Cash, you bleep, and I still have that soundbite. So whatever. But we're here for the people who are the listeners, the followers. I don't want to call them fans, because it's never been about fans. It's never been about the numbers or the retention or the number of downloads or who's listening however many minutes. It's been about
Correct.
connecting with you guys,
People.
the people, the family. And like I said,
Yeah.
I may be romanticizing it overtly, but you know what? I don't care, because that's the way that I feel about it. And that's part of the reason why I feel as strongly as I do about this thing that we do. I mean,
Well, I think too. Do I miss doing Beyond the Trailer Park? Yes. But there's some parts of it I don't miss.
of course.
Trying to work it around work. But the nice thing to know is that, if I need a rational mind to talk to, I can ping you, or I can ping Professor Stephen, or Sam, who was one of my co-hosts, or anybody from that group, and
And we're there.
yeah, and people will say, "Hey, you're being a little nutty," think of it this way. And like even Bill said tonight, and it just kind of hit me when he said it, was that this problem started 4 years ago, 2016.
Yep.
And that puts a perspective on it that I kind of lost.
No,
Well, it
all
didn't
this and
start then, but I say we lost this battle then.
no,
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
no,
That was the chat
Eh.
where we made a mistake.
no. I disagree. We lost it when Mitch McConnell said we are going to block everything that
Yeah.
Obama wants to do. That was
Yeah.
it, period. And he
He
did.
should have been held to that. He should have been.
He should have been ousted.
Well, his first re-elect since then is actually, in 40 some days.
Yep.
Because they're on a 6-year term, senators. So
Yeah, he's up for re-election this year.
And it's
and
not
I
looking
understand that's a close race, and I
Very
hope that
close,
the people of
yeah.
Kentucky will stand up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, guys,
But
we're I'm gonna go nerd on you again. We're having a Samwise Gamgee moment here, okay?
Mhm.
In Lord of the Rings, remember when Sam made his speech at the end of Two Towers,
Mhm.
and he said that it's like the great stories, and the people in them stories, they were beaten down. I'm paraphrasing, but they're beaten down, and they felt like there was no reason to go on, and there's no guarantee of a happy ending, but that's when you have to buckle down and just do what you have to do. And we're gonna have dark times.
The problem is so
We're
many
gonna
people
lose
don't
ground.
know what they have to do.
We're-
Nobody knows, like the
Well-
dumb people, the Susie people. Don't know how to fix it.
Neither did the people at Stonewall. You know, I mean, neither did the people who in 1968 did the first gay rights march in Philadelphia. But they did it. I mean, do you think when they did their march, they were thinking, yeah, you know, we're going to get marriage equality? No. They were thinking we got to move this forward. And
Yeah.
guys, we have taken and are going to take some steps back. It's wrong. It's sad. I'm outraged by it. But what we have to do is buckle down and say, we're going to push it forward again. We got to play a long game now.
It's reactionary. It's temporary. It's people that were losing ground, doing everything they can to get it back. Everything they can, just getting rid of their own ethics, their own morality in order to get it back. And maybe it's a gasp of a dying paradigm. I hope. That's my hope.
The one
And
thing
maybe-
anybody can do who's listening is vote.
Exactly.
That's the biggest-
Once.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and put this out there. The motherfucker. Yes, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna say it twice.
That's what he is.
The motherfucker who went ahead and said, as the head of the executive branch of government, who went ahead and said you should test the system and vote by mail and then go in there to make sure that you can, be turned away. That's a felony in some jurisdictions, if not all.
Well,
and then
he is
for
a
that,
criminal.
and then for the head law enforcement personality of the government to go ahead and say, well, I don't know if that's illegal or not. What are you, fucking new?
Yeah.
Oh man, that
knows?
brown nosing Quisling. I can't believe someone can be that shitty.
Step one.
It amazes me.
Step one, stop the bleeding. They have
what
to go.
really bothers me is the
Yep.
people that I think about when I think about the not knowing people. It's gonna work on them, and then everything's gonna get messed up, and then Trump's gonna go, see what they did. All those votes don't count.
Well, and that people have to understand that's his strategy. He's trying to sow discord to have the election questioned, and then part of the reason they want to replace Ginsburg so quickly, even though they technically don't have to, is because if and when it goes to the Supreme Court will side with him. Well, if he's loaded the Supreme Court with single funds, and right now top as far as women's is Amy Coney Barrett, who has specifically and overtly stated on 2 occasions that I know of that the Bible trumps the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
She is a theocrat. She is a hardcore Catholic theocrat, which I find funny, but
Because most Catholics
she-
aren't that way. But yeah, that's weird.
well,
Said
no,
a word I didn't
because
know. Beth.
Theocrat.
wow, that
No.
was loud.
See, that's what I can't help it.
You know what? No. Okay.
I'm
For any-
using his mic now.
For anybody that has not listened to the old episodes of stuff, there is always something that goes a little squirrely. And when you're doing the live event, it's kind of the way that it works. Now, if
our podcast was always live with call-in stuff, it
I
never
feel
worked.
picked on.
no, it's not your fault. You're not the one in charge of all the hardware, so that's okay.
You can
Yeah,
talk
it's
about
his-
it from a distance now.
it's
Susie.
his
I fixed
fault.
it.
Yes, that's
Thank
Oh, you sound good now, Susie. You sound good.
perfect.
Okay, so the word is sycophant. I think
Yeah.
she
Yeah,
said.
that
Oh,
means
single font.
I don't know
ass
what
Go
it is.
ahead.
kissing motherfucker. Ass kisser.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically someone
liquor.
that's going to.
Fruit liquor.
It's basically Mitch McConnell. Ugh, can't talk.
It's all right.
Through and through. But
little
anybody in the
Weasley- It's the little
Go ahead.
Weasley guy next to the bully that's laughing as the bully bullies the other people, so he won't get bullied.
I think Mitch is hoping to run for president one day, but
Yeah.
that's me.
I'm just hoping that he's running for an early grave, personally speaking. That's,
Yeah.
I mean, I forget who it was because it wasn't Mark Twain, but I don't wish ill on any person, but I would be delighted to read his obituary.
Hey,
well, it's just like
I wanted to run something by you guys that because I keep track of all of the public officials on my Facebook, like all of my public officials, and I was kind of reading up. I've been like digging into this whole RBG thing because I really liked the woman. Like
Mhm.
I didn't even know who she was until Bill started talking about her, and then I saw a movie, and then I was hooked. So I'm reading this thing from one of my state senators, the Republican douchebag, Pat Toomey,
oh god.
and he
I
says,
forgot you guys are in Philly.
yeah, he says,
So we got the same ones.
he says he put out a statement, and it said that this is his way of thinking, and I'm totally paraphrasing. He said the situations were totally different in 2016 when the other guy was up for a seat, or when the other guy died, than they are now.
Well, they
Okay.
were totally different. See, the other president was a black guy.
Stop.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
talking.
that's absolutely correct.
That's so totally different.
That's actually
no.
that's
100%.
actually the reason.
Mhm.
I have a point to make.
I know, but I had to
Oh,
throw a
okay.
joke
Sorry.
in.
No, not you guys. He just
I-
likes to
I had a
interrupt.
joke.
I don't want your jokes. I'm asking a serious question
Go
because
for
I
it.
don't know.
Go for
He
it.
says that in 2016, the White House and the Senate were at odds. I think he
Different
said.
parties.
Yes. So
Yeah.
then it was what you're supposed to do, and it's been precedented that what you're supposed to do is wait, or is to
If I may.
and then he said that now in 2020 it's the White House and the Senate are the same party, so then they should just go ahead and confirm, because that's the way it's supposed to be done.
Bullshit.
That's what Pat Toomey
No.
put out
You-
in a statement.
Well, Susie, that statement, yes, I'm not knowing anything about what's going on over there. I can very well believe, yes, that is exactly the statement that was put out. But as Bill is pointing out, it's absolute bullshit. The way
There
that
is no precedent.
right, the way that it is written is that when there is an opening, and I actually had to look it up a little bit, and boiling it down, when there is an opening, the president is to nominate someone for the position and pass that nomination to the judiciary committee. I forget exactly
Yeah.
what it's called. And they then have to vet the people, and then if they're acceptable through basically making sure that they've got a pulse and they actually understand the law, to then put it
or whatever.
to a vote to the Senate, and then
to the Senate.
if they pass with a majority, I forget if it was majority or supermajority, I'm got something in my head,
Majority.
then they are appointed.
What Pat Toomey is saying, in essence, Susie, is, hey, we had the Senate in 2016 and we're able to block it, and we don't want to block it now because it's our team.
Right.
Exactly.
That's exactly what
not
happened.
A precedent thing. It's a hey, our team we can do this, so we're gonna do it. Is what he's saying. And we were able to block it.
Yeah, and in fact, as far as I can tell from reading about it, the precedent was always set that pretty much you did your job and you went ahead and
You
put
did your
in the
job.
nomination. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the first time
Yeah,
I can
there
think
is
of where
no
they did something like
there is no precedent set for delaying a nomination or voting on the nominee at all. Period.
Yeah.
End of
So
statement.
what they
You know,
did
and the
It
last
fact
goes
that the
back to what
Democrats,
Bill said.
what they did last time was they made shit up. That's literally all it was. They cherry picked data from previous years and they made shit up. They made up a new rule that was written with their voices and it's being discarded because that's as valuable as it is. The air that came out of their fetid lips.
That's
Right.
true. The thing is, they made the case that, hey, the people ought to decide. And now it's like, well, no, we're not going to let the people decide because we don't think they're going to decide what we want them to decide.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Over live chat,
Yeah.
Chris, good to see you, man. It's been a long time. I hope that you're doing well. You've always got a seat at the table, you know. So, as far as that is concerned, the word that has been going around is hypocrisy. And it is absolutely antithetical to everything that we grew up believing in as kids.
true.
If you go on the schoolyard and you go to play a game, the rules are agreed upon, and if somebody doesn't play by the rules, they get told that's not how you play. You don't want to do that. Get the hell out. And we now have a whole bunch of people who are just saying, well, you know what? We made up the rules now for ourselves, so we don't have to follow those rules anymore because
we made 'em up.
inconvenient. Exactly.
They're playing
They
Calvin
only
ball.
applied
it's
to
worse.
us when they were convenient.
It's worse than Calvin Ball. At least it made sense to Calvin and Hobbes. They understood what was going on.
They agreed on it. Yeah.
They agreed on the terms.
Someone said a while back that Trump was the candidate that my parents raised me to never vote for,
Bingo.
and they're voting for him.
Exactly.
Well,
And that's
And
what's happening.
yeah. Well, it goes back to the whole comparison of Trump to Hitler. Now, take out the word Nazi because technically he was a fascist, but they put the Nazi terminology in. If you put them side by side, Trump is identical.
Yeah, the rhetoric
He's very
is the
similar
same.
The rhetoric
Mussolini.
is just it's scary.
Yeah.
I mean,
American
it's like,
style fascism with a Bible.
no, it's not even American. I mean, it is Hitler to a T. I mean, it's like he's quoting him verbatim.
For anybody that thinks that this is hyperbole, little quick history lesson, very boiled down. What happened in the 19 teens after World War I, Germany got shafted because, you know, they tried to do the whole Napoleon thing and it didn't work out well. So they had to pay off war restitutions for everybody. So in order to do that, they basically just, they made counterfeit money officially, is what it came down to. They printed Deutschmarks, or whatever the hell it was called
Weimar
at the time.
Republic.
And because of that, their money, the value of it, was effectively the paper it was printed on. So, with almost no economy to speak of, they had to find a scapegoat for who was everything the problem
Right.
of.
Right.
So-
It was said that if you had a wheelbarrow full of Deutschmarks, the wheelbarrow was worth more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what ended up happening was resentment boiled. Everybody was pissed off because nobody had anything for money. You left with a wheelbarrow full of money to go and buy bread that you saw on the shelf yesterday, and you didn't have enough money because it had simply skyrocketed in price overnight or from hour to hour. Economies aside a second. Everybody was all kinds of pissed off, so they needed a boogeyman. They needed somebody to blame instead of themselves. And that's when they started to blame all of the others. That's how the German fascist groups got themselves into position. That's how Hitler was able to stoke up all the resentment. He got everybody to say, you know what? I'm not the one to blame. It's all because of, let's see, let's go down the list. The Jews, the gays, the infirm, the Romanians, meaning the gypsies, anybody that was not German for the fatherland. And everybody was to blame for it. And that's how it all came to be for the final solution.
Right, because it's white supremacy. How could it possibly be white people's fault?
Now, take that and do the whole, well, not mirror mirror in this case, but the let this be your last battlefield. Swap a couple of names around. It is exactly the same rhetoric. There is no
Tactics
money.
are the same. Yes.
There is not enough money to the people. For whatever the reason at this point is immaterial. The amount of wealth for the vast majority of people is minuscule. Not enough in some cases to sustain themselves. And now the rhetoric begins. It's the people coming over the border illegally to take your jobs. It's the people who are coming through from China who are looking to make you sick. It's the brown folks who have never worked a day in their life and they've got their burner phones, and because they, whatever reason, it's exactly the same rhetoric with new names on the board. There is no hyperbole here.
It's a similar tactic. I mean, it's a tactic of authoritarians that you're going to see forever, right? And you see it not only in fact, but in fiction, because read 1984.
Yeah, it lines up pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, it lines up exactly. I mean, doublethink exists. I didn't
Absolutely.
downplay it. I upplayed it.
Yeah.
The
You know,
Ministry of Truth.
Yes.
Yeah, and
The parallels to 1984 are actually quite scary.
The
There-
whole
It's like,
thing is scary.
wow. Yeah.
you know, that is what Trump has been after. He's been controlling the flow of information since day one.
And these
First people he attacked were the media.
Yep.
That's true. Absolutely. You go after the media, you go after the intellectuals, you go after the scientists, anyone who could face you with facts and discredit you, and you discredit them so they can't.
Well, it's
That's
just
what they
like,
always do.
earlier today, I was just cruising through my news feed, and I posted, I go, that I was pondering, besides the chaos, I'm trying to understand, Trump's need to undermine institutions like the CDC, FDA, who, in regards to COVID, obviously,
They make him look
besides
bad.
being a vile, besides being a vile individual, I can only see one motive for Trump, and that's profit.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's what I
but
think it is.
how? Oh, it is. It's purely profit. But how? I mean, how can someone be so vile that the deaths of 200,000 people just from COVID alone?
Greed.
Yeah.
Pure and simple.
And the thing is, I mean, like, I look at his sons and his daughter Ivanka, and it's like, don't think you're in a very safe place because you're the first three people he's going to throw under the bus.
Well,
He has no
a
conscience.
sociopath. He's a sociopath.
No,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yes.
I mean, and one of my friends posted, he's only interested in himself, and then one of my high school friends, he goes, "I got you, hon, but he is just not worth the mind-boggling, mind-numbing mindfuckery." And I'm
Well-
like, yeah, that about sums it up, because it's like, how do you combat? I mean, pretty much any time he opens his mouth, he's lying.
Can't. It's a
I
medical
mean-
condition.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can't combat it. He literally has no empathy. Okay.
Yes.
No.
And he
You know what
stands
I'm
he stands like a centaur who's
He
missing his ass
doesn't
half.
care. He doesn't care about his own supporters.
Doesn't know. He cares about
No,
himself, and that's
no.
it.
He cares
And then-
about their support, but not about them. Didn't he just refer to them as disgusting people that he had to shake hands with?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
allegedly.
Not
To
allegedly.
be honest with you, I cannot imagine a
Well,
worse person.
The only
to be
one who
president.
denies it is Trump. Therefore, it happened.
Mhm.
I mean, no, I presume he's lying whenever he says anything.
Yeah. And that's a
Oh,
safe
yeah.
bet.
That's
To
a
him,
presumption.
Safe bet.
to him, truth and lies are the same thing. They don't matter. He doesn't think in those terms. To him, it's just whatever is beneficial to him is the truth. And
Right.
if it's the truth, that's just a coincidence.
Right.
Right,
That's why
and,
it was.
and he actually believes his own lies.
Oh, sure. He lives in a world where he's God, basically.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying
Yeah.
greed before. Now, I want to make sure that people understand that when I'm saying greed, it doesn't necessarily mean money. It
Right.
means it doesn't always necessarily mean power and influence, although
It's narcissistic supply of any kind.
it is the ultimate I got dem clicks. And my co-host Dallin right now would probably be like, you know what? Shit, you're right. It's the dopamine hit that he keeps on getting because he keeps getting more people to say, you know what? Good on you. Ding, you get another gold star.
And it's the only way he can get dopamine kicks because he doesn't care about anything else. You know, most people get dopamine kicks by helping people or completing projects or doing something to add to the benefit of everyone around. He can't get those dopamine hits.
Nope.
So this is the only way he can get it through narcissistic supply. And that
And the
includes
problem is he's surrounded himself with people that think a lot like him. And it's like, okay,
No.
so
Not necessarily. They're just the ones who are willing to ride on his coattails, whatever the cost.
they're willing to give him that supply and they're willing to be manipulated. Because that's what narcissists
Okay.
do. They surround themselves by people that will supply them what they want, and what they want is to be told how awesome they are.
Now, to be fair,
okay, I can-
Beth,
yeah.
you're exactly right. There are those who are latched onto him that believe very firmly the very same way. Bill Barr being one of them.
Absolutely.
Lindsey Graham, who looks like he just came out of a Mortal Kombat video because his spine has been removed yet again. How, I don't know, but be that as it may. But no, Beth, you're exactly right. He's surrounded himself with people who are more than willing to go ahead and let him go off, do his thing, tell him the sky is orange. Forgive me, it was the only one that came to mind. And who the hell
Yeah, I
cares?
wonder why.
Well, here's the thing about sociopaths and narcissists, which he is both. And most people that he surrounded himself with are also narcissists, is they don't think about consequences. They don't give a shit about what's going to happen 20,
Right.
10, 5 years from now. What matters is right now, I get mine.
Yeah,
Over-
exactly.
Over in the live chat, by the way, Chris had said this. Sorry, it took me a little bit to get to this one, but you're spot on. And Susie, I want to get you on this because you don't get the opportunity of talking too often. Chris had said Breyer is 82, so likely to be the next to go, possibly in the next presidential term, which is possible if memory serves. Current life expectancy is high 70s, mid 70s anyway. So be that as it may. Oldest conservative is Thomas at 72, so likely to last longer. Maybe? Of course, you start getting up to a certain point.
He's actually talking retirement
Yeah.
if Trump wins.
And finally, it's off here. So next opportunity to redress this is likely to be 2028, 2032. Susie,
Wow. I'm going to be old.
going
No,
to be.
no, there is a nuclear option.
Don't
Yes.
say that.
Well, now look, they're going to have a 6-3 majority on the court. If the left were to win this election, and if they were serious, because there's nothing. Let's agree now. There's nothing the Republicans won't do.
I know where
Okay,
you're going.
they've showed their hypocrisy. So fine, let's make it a 9-6 in favor of liberal justices.
What do you
Yeah.
mean?
There is no rule says the Supreme Court has to be 9 justices.
9 people.
It-
yeah.
it does not exist.
It's called stacking the court.
The only
FDR
way we're going
threatened
to
to
get
do
the
it,
stack,
and it worked.
the
We
only way
gotta
we're
have
going to
the
be able to
Senate.
back the court is if we get the Senate.
Got to have the Senate. You're right.
Yeah,
But
and that's
I think we're going to get it. I think the Senate's
think
going to
it's
go blue.
still-
God, I hope so.
Yeah, that's something that people don't really think about because, and I will be the first to admit it. I didn't take I didn't take a civics class. I didn't take physics either at the time because I was taking all.
That's why I'm here for you, man. I'm here for you.
So here's the thing. We've had a number of times where the courts have been monumentally instrumental in changing the face of the government. Item number one, we ended up having the court basically uphold that you can't have more than 2 presidential terms elected. Okay, it's kind of bullshit that you're not, doing it for yourselves too, but okay. But when it came down to you guys are screwing us over, fine. Remind me, wasn't it 7 jurors at one originally? You guys are fine. There we go. My apologies, folks. The streaming coming out from me to YouTube apparently had a little bit of a problem. My apologies. You only missed about 5 seconds of stuff of the court, so don't sweat it too much. So
I wanted to comment on some of the comments here on Facebook. Chris says the issue with stacking the court is it's got more people in every decision.
Yeah,
and I agree with that, except you also lessen the impact of each individual seat for the future. If there's, say, 15, if there's 17, shifting one way or another is not going to upset the balance as much. So it's a give and take. If your alternative is to leave the court stacked conservative for 30 years, what do you do?
That's the problem. Even if a lot of the boomers die out or whatever, catch the COVID from not wearing a mask, and a lot of the Gen Xers like me died out, and the more liberal Zoomers and younger, they institute a government that's quite progressive. You're still going to have this 30 years of this Supreme Court. And that's a big problem. That's a legacy that, even if everything goes right from here on out, we still have that fly in the ointment.
Because Shujin talked about just recently how the court has done some good things, and some major good positive impacts in our law, but they've also historically had some very negative impacts.
All too
That's
true.
true.
Bush v. Gore, Dred Scott.
Yeah.
Ring a bell to anybody? You don't have rights. You're not a person, is what they decided. Citizens United.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know that diluting that power is a bad idea.
Especially considering.
Well, you have to also take into consideration with lifetime appointments. Part of the reason Trump is considering people like Amy Coney Barrett is because she's younger. She's in her 30s. You're talking she's possibly, if she gets nominated and accepted, which pretty much is a given, you're talking 40 years.
Yep.
40 years of her bullshit on the court. And as I said, she's point blank said, Bible trumps the Constitution. Now, John Roberts, I kind of have changed my opinion a little bit on him because, I think personally, when it comes down to the ACA, is that he has somebody or is close to somebody who would have been affected if the ACA got wiped out. And that's how we got his vote. So I think there's some jurists who can, like John Roberts, who can stick to the law and not let always his religious leanings come in there. Right. But I don't think people like Amy Coney can do that.
She can't now, but if she's going to be on the court for 40 years, she could change. You know what I'm saying?
And that's the thing. I think Roberts, over the course of the time he's been on the court, he has changed. So there's always that possibility. But, as far as what can we do, is that we have to try to humanize him.
This
Make him and the politicians aware of what their choices are doing. Now, some of them don't give a crap. Pac Toomey is one of them. He
I
is
don't like
also
him.
Myra. Oh, he is a snake.
I don't like him at all.
He's a dick.
Oh, I can't. I mean, I've only lived in PA 20 years now, and it's like, oh my God. I mean, he is vile. Not quite as vile as Trump, but he's getting there. It's like, this guy he's a A1 ass kisser. And it's like,
In PA, we come up with some vile Republican senators. That's all I got to say. I mean, we had Santorum, and now we got Toomey.
Hey,
we're number one, is what I'm saying. We're
I
the
need
best.
to interrupt for 1
Santorum,
second.
which is number 2.
see, you took the.
I
joke.
gotta.
Yeah.
I need to interrupt for 1 second
Go.
because I gotta go take care of some things.
No worries.
So I'm gonna have to hop off here. But it was really nice talking to you guys. And if you're still on when I get back, good on you.
Probably.
All right.
Probably. We'll see you on. Okay, so
Maybe I'll
something-
fix your mic while you're gone.
Maybe you'll
Something
fix
I was
my
going to
mic.
mention earlier.
Yeah.
When we were talking about the similarities between the American fascism we're seeing now and Nazism, or I would say he has in common a lot with Mussolini. But that aside, one thing that you'll note is at the alt-right and the QAnon type people, they talk about something called cultural Marxism.
oh, good
And-
Lord.
That is just a rewording of cultural Bolshevikism, which is one of the things that the Nazis talked about, because they were a reaction to the left wing. They made a fear tactics against the sort of communist parties and socialist parties and things like that. And it's the same rhetoric. It's this BS about secret Jewish communists that are running everything, and
it's
the
a
same.
scapegoat.
It's the same rhetoric. It's exactly the same.
Well, what's funny is, as I said earlier, you ask somebody that uses that term what it really means, they have no flicking clue.
No, they don't know.
They don't. They just know that saying you're a Marxist is scary, or you're a socialist is scary, or you're a communist is scary.
Well, down here, it's just them
and it's like,
Yankee liberals. They're all Marxist
well, that would
communists.
be me.
It's still
Yeah. And you can't be a Marxist and a communist. I
it
mean,
all,
the ideologies are similar, but they're not the same.
You can't be a Soviet communist and a Marxist, and not at all.
it all comes down
I
to
mean, it's like, I'm a Marxist.
Well,
It's like,
thought you said you
but they're not using those terms as terms. Okay,
No.
no,
yeah,
they're
but
using them as name. They're calling you a cockadoodie head
Exactly.
on the playground, and that's what it is. They don't care what it means. It means you stink.
It
You
means
Yeah.
liberal cuck.
yeah. It comes down to I don't know what it means because that's not who I am. So naturally, that means that you're wrong because you're not in my group. Because
And also,
otherwise, I'd know what that means.
I know that commies are all godless, and so that automatically makes them bad.
Please.
I love that one.
Yeah.
They were so wrong, it's not even funny, but
Because all this started as an atheist movement, right? These were all atheist podcasts. And let's be honest with you, the real problem with American politics is religion.
Yes, and
Yeah.
if anybody wants to argue this, guess what? There was one time in the 70s where the government at many levels at the federal level was infiltrated by a religious church and had to be found out through clandestine means to get rid of them. Very specifically, it was called Operation Snow White. It was the Church of Scientology. They invaded, they got jobs in many areas so that they could find out what information the government had on them so that the information could be, I believe the expression is, removed.
well, you gotta understand, colleges like Patrick Henry, the sole purpose of that college, and it's a ultra conservative religious college, um, is to put out young people into, specifically, they want them to, what's the word? Shit, can't think of the word. Work for congressmen, become lawyers, or
Gotcha.
any other, that's the sole purpose of the college.
I got to tell you guys a
Internship.
story.
Yeah.
Go
So you
for
think
it.
of a story, because when I was like truly a super Christian guy, before I saw how dumb it was, I was in church with my parents, Southern Baptist, and I overheard some conversations, and I got, we were big churchgoers. Everyone knew us, with the preacher came over to our house, and he actually talked to me because he thought I was a pretty well-spoken young man who could be, really have a good career in being an awful person. Anyway, so they were talking about, this sort of Christian dominionism thing, about how we need to go into the government and we need to take this government over and we need to impart the teachings of Christ onto the masses. And even though I was a devout believer at the time, it made my skin crawl. It bothered me.
Well, it goes back to a saying that I've repeated oftentimes, is that all theocrats, all dominionists are Christian, but not all Christian are theocrats or dominionists.
No,
And that's the point we do have to remember.
Absolutely.
There are a lot of Christians that, I know personally, that don't jive with this, what they call it the Seven Mountains Mandate, where they take over entertainment and all, politics.
Oh yeah, because I was really a believer in sort of like the idea that freedom was a good thing, and that our religion, Jesus flourishes in a freedom context because it's good and true and all that kind of nonsense. But because the Baptists, I was a Baptist, the Baptist movement really did have a sort of freedom of religion history, because they were kind of a persecuted religious group early on, and they were like, you should be able to worship at your own conscience. By your own conscience. And I'm like, I like this idea. Let everyone decide what they want to believe or not believe and how they do it. And then when I hear these people talking about taking over the government and forcing their interpretation of the Bible on people, it scared me, even though I was a believer.
I agree to echo it. It can't be said enough that there are plenty of religious people that aren't that way and that stand with us. Okay, they're going to vote with us in November, and they're out there with us when we march.
Yep.
So let's not. But I think the problem with religion is even more basic. The problem is magical thinking.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, because if you can believe in a talking snake, it's not a big jump to what's on QAnon.
No.
You accept these fabulous stories, and the only reason that people, if anybody's going, well, gee, that's everybody talking snake. A lot of people believe, because you're used to it, you're desensitized to it. But if somebody came to you and you'd never heard the dang talking snake story, you'd look at them like they were crazy.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
So, is it a big jump from talking snake to there's underground pedophiles in the government? Not
if your preacher's saying it and you don't read your own Bible anyway. You just take him on his word.
And pedophiles actually exist.
They do.
Yeah.
That's a thing that exists. So
absolutely.
I mean, if you're trained, and we're trained. I say I grew up in a religious environment too. We're trained from our earliest childhood to accept things without evidence.
I want to float an idea on that a second. I don't know if trained is necessarily the right term for it. For me, for whatever reason, let me float this word: conditioned.
Yeah, that's a better word, but yeah.
I mean, I'm splitting hairs at this point. I know full well, but for me,
you're absolutely right.
There is a little bit of a difference for me where you can be retrained, and that is something that is just a matter of learning, getting new experience, practicing, etc., rolling it back and forth a couple of times, versus when you condition someone.
Right.
That's
No, and you're right, because positive and negative reinforcement.
Absolutely, especially when you live in a community where every single person, at least every single authority figure, is backing up those ideas.
Right, and you espouse those ideas, and suddenly, you receive positive feedback. You misbehave at church, you get, or say you don't want to go to church, and you get negative feedback, and that's your entire life. Of course, you get conditioned. Yeah, absolutely. That's a much better word.
Yeah, and because it is a matter of survival at that point especially when you're a little kid.
yes.
Yeah,
You have to toe that rope or whatever the
Toe the
is,
line.
because of the line. That's right. Because if you don't, you're going to be left out in the cold by everybody around you.
Yeah. And
Well, I think a lot of people can relate to the conditioning. You're used to that term because I know when I deconverted, it took me 10 years. I had 27 years of conditioning to overcome. Now you can uncondition the person, but it takes, I know, well, we used to joke on Beyond the Trailer Park. It took Deb all of one day and me 10 years. But, it's true. I mean, depending on your upbringing, whether you were raised in the church or, whatnot, breaking that conditioning is difficult.
Yeah.
conditioning isn't
And the
necessarily a
same
bad thing. It's how we function as
Right.
mammals.
Yeah.
Right? Because potty training is conditioning.
Yes, correct.
yes. However, for those of you who do not think that you have been conditioned, if you spent any time in the Catholic Church, work this over in your head for a second. Peace be with you.
And also with
Peace also be with you.
How many of you had that going on back in the 70s when you first saw May the Force be with you? And also, damn it, no, don't do,
yes.
I will go on record as having said that I have not stepped foot inside of... No, wait a minute. I was going to say I've not stepped foot in front of a church since my wife passed, but that is not true. I've had a couple of events that were for weddings, but actively been in a church, easy 25 years.
Right.
And that's still in me.
Yeah.
Oh, I still remember the liturgy,
Yeah.
Oh.
almost
In the-
verbatim. And it
in the
changed
Baptist church-
twice.
Yeah. In the Baptist church, we did something called Bible drill. It was more important you memorize verses than you understood them.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one time trying to do a thing. It was so groundbreaking. Our Sunday school class is going to be about understanding the verses that we all memorized. And we got kudos for it, but I felt like it was almost like kind of weird to everyone, because we went around and we went down and actually tried to study those words and what they meant, not just vomit them back up.
Yeah, Beth. Yeah, you would remember this one almost better than any of the rest of us. The last time I heard anybody talking about we memorized the words of the Holy Book, that's something that a little short pipsqueak of a redhead would be yelling and screaming about right about now. Wouldn't you think?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, Deb and I used to have conversations we talked pretty much every night. And I would just she'll would have made a comment, and I'd be like going back into my church days, and it's like, oh, geez. I mean, that's how even now, and I've been out of the church since 98.
I miss her. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
just
God.
miss
I-
her.
There's
so do
nothing
I.
there's nothing to be sorry for. She
Every
I
day.
I raise a glass to that lady every year on our birthday. 'Cause
Absolutely. As
she
you
and I
should.
she and I have the same birthday.
Ah,
It's a good reason.
I didn't know that.
And yeah,
Well,
it was-
and it's funny because doing Beyond the Trailer Park, I hemmed and hawed after she passed whether to continue, and we did for as long as I could handle it between with work and stuff. And then, of course, I got sick, so it kind of really threw things for a loop. But it's like, even now, like, I started another podcast and called it We Talk, but since I've gotten sick again, it's kind of on hold because I can't really do anything. So it's like, I never would have done it really if it wasn't for Deb, wasn't for Cash, wasn't for Steven, because those three were the impetus behind doing it.
Yeah.
And I think, like going back to what we said in the beginning, giving people a place to come and rant and, have somebody help screw their head back on, and so they don't panic, or, just so they can vent.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
exactly right. Now, I'm terribly sorry that I have no way of doing a call-in spot with the way that this is at the moment. I mean, I tried to kind of do that on Tuesday nights, but that just, talking for an hour straight is one thing. When it's only me talking for an hour straight about whatever comes off my head, that got really, really old, unfortunately.
Call-ins are hard to do, though. I mean, call-ins are tough.
Yeah, but when you're the only one in front of the camera,
yeah.
That is really tough. But what was said though about Cash, about Professor Stephen, about Atheists on Air as a show, yes, it kickstarted a lot of us. I know for well, I can literally pinpoint the moment where it kicked me, because I downloaded the video that Cash had done at the time because it was directed at me. Whether he did, whether he named me,
episode.
He didn't name me, but considering that we had just finished talking on the phone, it was the thing, I think, is up on SoundCloud. I think. Anyway, it was called Dear Atheist Podcaster, and it hit all the same talking points that we talked about. And I'm bringing this up not because I'm trying to pump up Professor Stephen, who, let's face it, any opportunity to up his is fine by me. The opportunity for us to basically say, look, we got started because somebody basically said, why the hell aren't you? That was all it, that was literally all it took. And we've been on over here for over oh God, how the hell long has it been? I forget how many goddamn episodes we've been doing at this point. Let me check this really quickly.
Well, it's been, geez. We came on about the same time as Atheists on Air when we started ours. But I gotta say, I owe all of my connections and all the people that I've met in the podcasting community to them for putting on that first conference. That first reason. That's where I met you, Professor Stephen.
Absolutely. Yes.
On the first time. I still have the picture from that first conference with all of us standing around, you and me and Cash, Love and Noah and the whole group, and Tracy Harris was in that photo too.
Yes, she
and
was. Yep.
Yeah, I still have that. It's a background on one of my things. So
I was thinking about inviting Tracy, but I didn't know if that was necessarily the right thing to do. By the way, I did look it up. It's a little over 6 years now. A little over 6 years that we've been doing it at HCTV. And I'm not saying that to blow my own horn, because the first year, it was really a lot of trying to find our footing. I mean, we didn't really know what the hell we were doing. We had no budget, still don't. But the difference is, we collectively, because we're here, even though Barroom Atheist is still on temporary hiatus.
We're dead. But no,
Atheist.
No. But we stopped for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, our show was about pointing out what was going on behind the scenes and the fringe. And I would pull up some of the crazy right-wing talk and say, hey, look at this. And there's people actually out there who believe that.
Right.
But if you want that now, turn on CNN, turn on MSNBC. It's not fringe anymore. It's mainstream.
Exactly.
So for Bill and Susie to be sitting here talking about it on a podcast, the media is talking about it. It's front and center. If you can't see it now, me pointing it out to you is not conducive to something changing. I mean, we need to look at
You're reinventing the wheel.
We need to look at it in a macro, not a micro. And yeah, I was pointing those things out, and I was hoping that people would get tuned into, hey, a lot of people are believing this garbage. Look what this guy's saying, and
Yeah.
now we see how many there really were.
Like Right Wing Watch.
Yeah, they were a great source.
Yeah, and I'm amazed that they didn't, and you and others didn't have more of an impact than they did. But I guess the people that are listening, the people who are already on, we're preaching to the choir, I guess. So to speak.
Yes. And honestly, the people that were listening to say Brian Fisher and Pat Robertson and the folks that I used to always make fun of, they weren't listening to me.
Right.
And now they're not listening to the media.
Not at all. No.
Well, it's like I said many, many years ago. God, probably back in 2012 or 13, I had written a blog post in response to people saying, "Oh, that's just the fringe," and I'm like, and this was, God, almost 10 years ago now, and it's like, no, it's not, and it's gonna become mainstream, and it has, just like you were saying, Bill.
Yeah, it has become mainstream, but I mean, let's throw a little hope in here. Do you know Donald Trump has never won an election with more than 50% of the vote?
Right.
Not at any level.
Yeah.
Never has he had a majority.
No,
Right.
they gamed the system, and I'm saying they, as in the Republican Party.
And I'm encouraged by another thing. I have yet to meet, argue with, run up against a single person who says, I did not vote for Donald Trump in 2016, but I'm going to in 2020.
That's true. No, that's not going to happen.
Not one. But I've run up against many people who go the other way.
Right.
Who say, I was taken in 2016. I didn't know he was this bad. I didn't know he was going to do all this. I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
there's some, and come on, it's a numbers game, and it's narrow numbers in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And dang, Texas could flip.
Hey, here's the thing. I actually got my mom to vote for Biden. So there's hope right there. My religious ass mom. My dad's
Biden
just
is
not gonna
leading
vote.
among seniors. That's huge. That's monstrous. Biden, there was a lot of things that happened in 2016 that, and I said it at the time, there was Clinton hate.
Yeah.
People hated the Clintons. There were just a group of people that hated the Clintons, and they were mostly Reagan Democrats, baby boomers.
You're right.
And when the Clintons came in after they were Reagan Democrats. Reagan was their messiah, and George Bush was his successor. And then Clinton came in and messed all that up. And talk radio came on and inflamed them. And you know what? You were never going to get them to vote for anybody named Clinton.
No.
We've got a problem.
For as far as they were concerned, it was a legacy. It was, they're the elites that we always talk about that are evil.
But Biden's different. Biden's one of them. Biden's working class. Biden is, all right. Joe Biden is a good guy. You may not think he's
a little bit of a dork.
He's a little bit of a dork, and he's a little bit too moderate for a lot of people's tastes. But he's generally a good person.
I'll take that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I met him long before he was vice president. He was still senator from Delaware when my father was the state commander of Delaware VFW. Okay.
Wow.
So yeah, and I was home on leave from the Air Force, and Dad said, "Hey, we're having this luncheon thing. You want to go?" And that's where I met Joe Biden, and we had a nice talk. And he was just a
Awesome.
senator at the time.
Right.
But and he knew my dad, and he actually knew my grandfather back in the day. Delaware's a small state, guys.
Right.
I mean, and that's where my family's actually from. Is from Wilmington.
Right.
So I can tell you that. And you know what? I'll take a decent human at this point.
Right,
I would
exactly.
take
Yeah.
a decent human who was a Republican at this point. I mean,
Right.
if you wanted to
That's
show
the
me
key word.
a George
Decent
H.W.
human.
Bush, I would vote
Right.
for him over Trump today
Yeah, we have to.
in
Right.
a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
We got to pause on this a second, because this is something that I know for well that a lot of people have been agonizing over, and I've seen people yelling and screaming about this in a lot of different ways. That why should we be beholden to the Democratic Party when they are effectively holding a gun to our heads with a moderate instead of an actual progressive? Shouldn't they be courting the vote instead of simply accepting that everybody's just going to fall in line? And,
No.
and hold on, though. I know, because I've got to think about this too. The problem is, for the first time, I completely understand what this position actually is in so many different four-dimensional chess moves right about now. And the whole premise scares the ever-loving bejesus out of me.
I hate to get real technical, but the political spectrum of any given group is a bell curve.
True.
Okay. So on the far left and the far right, you got the ends of the bell that are down here. And in the middle, we got the big bubble.
Yep.
So if for every step I take left, I gain 10 votes, but lose 100.
I know.
What am I accomplishing? Also, we consider this, folks. We have a first past the post election system,
Which
means
sucks.
in that bell curve, to get over 50%, you need someone right of center. You need one vote that's right of center. Even if you get everything that's left of center, you need to go one vote right of center.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of votes in the middle, my friends. And that's the
Also-
way. And the Democratic Party made the choice, not the establishment, but the people.
Yep.
A lot of people trust Biden. And it was basically the African American vote in South Carolina that pushed him forward.
That's exactly what I was going to say. How did he win the nomination? He won it by getting the most votes. And he got
Yes.
those most votes because the African American population really liked a guy who was vice president to an African American president and was a good vice president under him and showed him respect. So I'm sorry that you didn't get the candidate you want. I didn't get the candidate I want either, but you're arguing against those who voted at that point.
It's, to get the, and I understand, but how many people voted for, say, Jill Stein in 2016? 2%, 3%? How much of the center do you give up to get that 3%?
Right.
If the Green Party progressive ideals were so good, they'd be doing a lot better.
Well, they should run for more than
No,
just
I'm saying,
president or governor.
in the eyes of the public, not necessarily where I stand.
I
I'm not
gotcha.
stating my personal opinion, but I'm saying if they were, so what your goal should be, if you feel that way, and I do too, to a certain extent, you need to be convincing more people that you're right.
Right.
Because when you move the opinions of the voters, these candidates are going to change.
Well, and that these candidates are going to change. Who's to say that Joe Biden is not going to learn from the people he surrounds him with? Who says he's not going to listen to the people?
Yeah, he's
I
not
mean,
a
he
closed-minded person like Trump.
Nope.
Exactly. I mean, there is a chance. I mean, yeah, he might not be your ideal candidate, but there is a chance that your organization, your group, your situation, when presented to those, that influence him, might change his mind.
Well, Biden is
Yes.
for universal health care.
Yeah.
He just doesn't think you can get there in one step, and he's got a lot of
Exactly.
valid points in that.
Imagine the Supreme Court nominee that he would put in.
Yeah. Or
Some-
or compare getting rid of the ACA to shoring it up and making it better. Those are diametrically opposed. And you say, I've had a lot of my liberal friends say, well, there's no difference between the two. There's a lot of difference to the people who were covered
That
now
drives me
and
crazy
won't
because
be.
everyone I've known who said that shit has been a white dude with money in his pocket.
And everyone who's ever called Joe Biden a racist has been a white dude.
Yeah.
By the way.
Professor Stephen?
Yes.
I just looked it up because I wasn't sure. Some people I have heard have been yelling and screaming that Barack Obama would be a wonderful person to nominate to the court. He's currently 59 years old.
That would be okay with me.
That would be fine by me.
Oh yeah, and Michelle,
Constitutional scholar.
throw them both in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Constitutional scholar, former senator. How could they not confirm him?
Absolutely. He'd be
I
after
mean-
Taft. The next one after Taft that became a president and a juror of the Supreme Court.
But I could throw a little cold water on this fire and let you guys know that if Joe Biden wins in November, and I hope he does, the campaign for 2024 starts the very next day. Donald
yeah.
Trump will be running for president again.
Hopefully
He will
he'll have a
start
stroke
running
and
that
die.
day.
Well,
Me-
he might have a little hard time if he's dressed in orange.
Yeah.
Because you can't see him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I never even thought of that. Yeah, I mean, supposedly, and that's why they're saying he is, and the only reason he is running again is to stay out of jail because they do allegedly have enough to at least charge him.
Oh God, I mean, they've had enough to charge him for stuff for years. I don't. It's the thing that drives me crazy. The things he pulls my hair out. The thing that makes me go screaming like it's some sort of Kafka book that we're living in is that he isn't in jail. He's a crook. He has robbed and stolen and lied his entire life and gotten away with it at every step.
And then gets elected president.
Yeah, he if you believe in karma, you're an idiot.
Yeah. I won't believe it until I see it.
Yeah.
Until the cuffs are on and he's on his way to jail.
Right.
I mean, it's like
You got the My Little
I've
Pony.
I've been on this earth a little too long. I mean, cripe. I remember the whole Watergate thing with Nixon.
Yeah.
And-
At least Nixon had the integrity to say, "Yeah, I'm resigning."
Well, he was
basically
forced into that.
Yeah, he was basically told, you
Yeah.
need to go.
You guys ever see
Yeah,
that meme?
Which
It's
one?
a picture of Donald Trump and Nixon standing there shaking hands, and it says, "Look, a picture of the worst, most corrupt president of the United States ever," and Richard
Yeah,
Nixon.
I just saw that earlier today. That's the first time I saw it.
It's
like-
hilarious.
Yeah,
It's
Nixon
embarrassing.
was actually forced to resign. He didn't really do it voluntarily. Because I
Fair.
remember the trial, reading about it in the paper and stuff. I mean, granted, I was pretty young, but I knew what was going on even back then. It was like,
Here's a question for you: If Trump's campaign broke into a Democrat's room at a hotel to get information, like Watergate, in order to screw with the election, do you think that he would get in trouble for that? You think he would get impeached? Do you think
No.
he would-
Today, no.
No.
no,
I
he
mean,
can do whatever he wants.
He'd
He
pardon.
will get
he'd put a
You
pardon.
might impeach him. You might impeach him, but the current Senate would never convict him
Oh,
Exactly.
because they did that.
Yep.
They just did it digitally.
fair, true, yeah.
I mean, they broke in and stole information from the Democratic headquarters servers. It was really a mirror of Watergate, just for the digital age. You don't have to physically go there now.
Right.
You
So
know.
there's no one in a ski mask, so suddenly there's no criminal.
Right. But I think even if there had been a guy in a ski mask, no, it would not have come back to Trump, not in our current climate.
And that's
Come on, look at the things he has done that we know of. I mean, the impeachment itself. He was guilty. Everybody says he was guilty, except
he
for his
was.
sycophants.
Yeah.
Even the
except one.
senators who voted to keep him say he was guilty, but it didn't rise to the level of impeachment.
And the
And
funny part,
this has starkly shown us how broken our system is right now.
yeah,
Something needs to be fixed. This
Yeah.
shouldn't be allowed to happen.
yeah. One of the things that we talked about on HCTV about exactly this is that government has traditionally been predicated on the expectation of mutual decorum. I know I'm using the big multisyllabic words, but there's a reason. There is the expectation that everybody will play by the rules, that nobody will be intentionally screwing with the rules just because there's a loophole, that people will actually do their damned jobs. And still, again, not intentionally exploiting loopholes for the sole usage. It's supposed to be a matter of, we think things are supposed to be run this way. We think they're supposed to be run this way. Okay, let's find out which of these scenarios is actually going to work out better by finding out from the experts in the fields and then hammering out the details to make sure that we've actually got something that's viable, that works, that isn't going to completely break the bank. Thank you very much. Which,
But
by
don't
the
get
way,
me
as far as,
started on the don't get me
Yeah.
started on the death of expertise.
yeah, and
Yeah.
don't even get me started on the whole, how much money is the military-industrial complex currently spending? Yes, I do know this because I had to look it up a couple of years ago, and Chris, by the way, helped me out on that one. We currently spend the equivalent of the next 15 countries combined.
Yep.
And
Why?
yet we're one of the least invadable countries on the planet.
You know, I mean, we could spend just as much as the 10 most recent or next countries and have a whole lot of money to do a lot of good.
Yes.
You know, I mean, we
absolutely.
could still be overwhelmingly dominant.
Yep.
And
Forgive
you know,
student loan. That would kickstart the economy right there.
the thing is, honestly, it's not so much our system that's broken. And again, some tough love for Americans here. We're broken.
Yeah.
We have an experiment in self-government that's been going for about 250 years. And I would say for the last 50 or so, it's been laissez-faire self-government for a lot of us, for a majority of us. Okay? If you don't participate and you don't vote and you don't know who your state reps are and you don't know who your congressperson is and you don't know who your senators are but you know all the Kardashians, you're
Hell
the
yeah.
problem.
Well,
No, really,
I
I'm
don't know
saying,
who the Kardashians are anyway, so just,
but I'm saying people, you know what? You accumulate all this other useless trivia, but if you don't pay attention to this stuff, you're the problem.
Yeah, and here I want to add something else. Everyone should be scientifically literate.
thank you.
Not necessarily a scientist or an expert, but they should know scientific basics so they don't
But-
get hoodwinked by liars.
But Professor Stephen, according to Dr. Mercola, the flu
Fuck.
vaccine causes COVID.
Dr. Mercola should get the flu right now and die from it.
You know what?
Just
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Hold on a
Vaccines
second.
cause autisms.
Hold on a second.
yeah, autism's not a disease.
To that end,
Yeah.
let's go ahead and make sure that people who have gotten to this point in the show, by the way, hi, thanks for sticking it out this far. Let's go ahead and list a couple of items where people could actually learn to become a little bit more scientifically literate. Item number 1, right off the bat, is not the one that you think it is. No, it's not Nova. No, it's not it's not Cosmos. No, it's not Scientific American. It's fucking Mythbusters.
Yep, that's a good show.
It's a great
Learn how to do
show.
it.
Wait, I'll go
that
even
logic.
further. Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Until Scrappy's introduced, then shut it off. But all
yeah,
the ones
shut-
I'm
before
with you.
Scrappy,
I'm with you.
great shit.
I'm with you.
But I mean, it was always the dude behind the mask. Ghosts aren't real. Thank
It was
you,
always
Velma.
an old
It's
white
always-
guy who wanted money.
It's always a guy.
Right?
So it's always been a guy, it's always been a person, and it's always been follow the money.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, seriously, how hard is this to really put into practice? Except you just keep the Great Dan out of the whole thing, and you don't get yourself a VW bus van.
Again, we have to play a long game, though. I mean, you have to.
It
It's
is.
about education. It's about
It
early education. It's
It
about,
It is.
and gosh, maybe I was in some ways I was guilty of this too. You pack your kids off to school and you expect them to teach them. You don't worry about what they're teaching because you're busy and you have a life, and I get that. But if we don't govern ourselves, if we don't see that the next generation is being imparted with the knowledge that Professor Stevens so aptly pointed out is essential, then we're failing. And
But
that's
there are-
why
You
we
gotta re-
and
you
that's why we
gotta
have
remember-
half the people that don't vote at all. So I love Schoolhouse Rock because I am just
That's
a Bill.
great.
Uh-huh.
That's
Yes.
great stuff. The thing is that there are people who want us to be in that ignorant, uneducated place because
That's
then they can
exactly what it's
manipulate us.
back in 2012. If
Brave
you
New
read
World.
the text- yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you read the Texas Republican platform for the state, which was also a model for the national, right in their platform, they have written they do not want the teaching of critical thinking in schools.
Yes,
That's correct.
It undermines parental authority.
Yes,
That's
thank you
a
for I
religious
couldn't.
doctrine.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, and this is when we'll say the whole Dominionist Seven Mountains mandates really became more of a people knew what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Texas platform point blank states they did not want the teaching of critical thinking. I
Here's-
mean, we have school districts now fighting over whether to include climate change teaching in high schools. I know it's up for a vote here in PA.
Well, here's
Um,
the
they're
thing.
discussing it.
Here's the really scary thing. What they want is they want kids trained in the practical knowledge that science has come up with that makes widgets and makes money. But they don't want them to
Mhm.
actually think like a scientist and question what they're being told, which is a weird dichotomy because you can't be a good scientist without being a good scientist.
Yeah.
That's what they want.
And if you want to build the next best widget that's going along, how in the hell can you figure out what that is going to be if you don't know how to go through the scientific discovery method?
Exactly. And use your imagination. Another thing that they don't particularly like on the right is people using their imagination. Art informs science.
Yes.
Imagination is important. And they want to get rid of both things. They want to get rid of art and science.
and
and-
music.
I think
And
we've reached the
humanity.
point where we're arguing whether the widgets exist.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And by the way,
Okay.
If they make money, they do.
Chris, I don't know if this is gonna spool to you in time. It's beautiful to have you back for a little bit, man. Thank you ever so much. Again, you've always got a seat with us if ever the time should work with you again. Take care of yourself. Have a safe week. Chris,
see if there's
for a
no-
while was one of my co-hosts. for a while until, I mean, being in England and, getting up at dark stupid in the morning to do my show on a Sunday morning, not
Not sustainable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I see if there's a Bridget Fitch on here now.
Where are you talking about?
There's a Bridget Fitch amongst
it's showing
our show
up in
hosts.
the show hosts.
Yes.
On
Yeah.
the right.
And she came on the podcast back in the day, and she's one of the greatest voices for please vote. Vote for Hillary, even if you don't like her. Bite your tongue and vote for her because of Supreme Court nominations.
Yep.
Which was the whole beginning of this thing, and
she was right.
She was one of the most vocal people.
And yet again, it comes down to we were right. We told you. We goddamn told you.
Yep.
And the record number of judges he's appointed. I mean,
That's
it's
the
not
scary-
just the Supreme Court.
Oh, that's
it's
terrifying.
Right.
It's 187 judges at the federal level, all lifetime, at every level. And most cases never see the Supreme Court.
And
If you're a black person, that is terrifying.
and how many of those appointments were held over from the previous administration because the turtle in charge decided he was going to hold the whole damn thing up?
Hundreds.
A lot. A very
Hundreds.
large lot.
If I
They're taking
remember
one branch of
correctly,
the government.
220.
Oh, they're not even. It's not even just that. There is there's a problem that is inherent in the United States governments, and I'm saying all 50 gerrymandered districts up the goddamn zoo,
Yeah.
and it drives me absolutely batty.
That's the thing. That's really the long game here.
It is.
They gerrymander. The only recourse against gerrymandering is the courts.
And
So they stack the courts.
bingo.
Well, and you have to pay attention to your state legislature.
Yeah.
90% of your laws, whoever you are hearing my voice, are made at the state level and lower. The laws that you have to live by day to day, your life, is not federal. I mean, the only thing people pay attention to is who's president. Are you kidding me? They gerrymandered the districts in 2010 because they had all the state legislatures because nobody cared.
Well, it goes back to a point that Frederick Clarkson and others that have written about the Dominionist movement is the 10% solution. And that's basically, it's not the federal elections that are the most important. It's what you're saying, the state, local, and regional. You get enough Republicans or Democrats, it goes either way, into those positions on the education boards and the community, county commissioners, et cetera, that influences the state, which influences your representatives at the federal level, and then it goes into the presidential.
It's no
And
bullshit.
this
It all starts
huge in a census year. It's huge in a census year because these maps are going to get redrawn.
You know what's funny is whenever you talk to people who are all about third-party candidates, and I would love to have extra parties. I would love to have more.
Tell me about it.
Sure.
These libertarians
Oy.
who are just failed Republicans, and these Green Party people, do they get involved in local elections? Are they running candidates for those things?
Sometimes,
No.
but not many.
Not many. No, not very often. They only care whenever it's governor, senator, or president.
Because I think they can only reach a critical mass at a national level.
Not many.
Right.
Yeah, but the
Like
problem-
at
probably
any
true.
given district, there's not enough Greens or Libertarians to do anything.
Well, they need to get out there and start literally doing stuff in communities and getting their name out there and
Sure.
actually help people rather than just run for president.
I mean, I'm never going to vote for a Green for president until
No.
I at least see some members of Congress wearing their party banner.
And I'm never going to vote for a libertarian ever. So,
Yeah, well, no, libertarianism is simple. If anybody out there doesn't understand libertarianism, it's the government by the system of the Old West.
right.
That's libertarianism. I mean, that is literally libertarianism. That's what our the government looks like. It's the old West, you know. You carry your own gun, you take care of your own stuff. Your land is your land, and you do what the hell you want with it. That's libertarian. So if that's how you want to live, libertarianism is for you.
Yeah, the problem
Me?
though with
Not so much.
yeah, the problem in the US is with trying to get any additional parties out there that can make a substantive difference, it's the snake eating its own tail. I'm not going to go ahead and vote for somebody who's a libertarian until they get some traction, but they're not going to get any traction until they get some feet on the ground and they get some things working, but they can't get anything working because they're not elected, and you're not going to elect them because they don't have any feet on the ground, they don't have any traction, etc., ad nauseum, which is the problem that happens because there is this whole gobbled up, what's the word I'm looking for here?
It's first past the post.
No. That's not the piece I'm going for. The the economic model.
Trickle down?
No. The economic model that we use here, capitalist model,
Capitalism.
where
Oh,
you keep simply gobbling up anything that you are able to because you're able to, as opposed to, look, you're not allowed to have a monopoly on this because that would be bad for everybody. Oh wait, didn't that happen for Ma Bell? And then they just went ahead and did it all over again and again.
In a first past the post system, though, it lends itself to two sides.
It does.
It just does. You can have a third party rise up, and the best example I can think of that is the Republican Party.
Right.
160 years ago, they were the third party, but they drove the Whigs out of existence because you're not going to have people who talk about we need more parties. Yeah, in principle, that's a good idea, especially at local levels and state levels. But when you start talking about on a macro level, let's say you have one party has 40% support and two other parties have 30% support. How long are they going to continue at that level? The two that have 30% support just going to be happy with losing and say, okay, you guys with the 40% are going to, or are they going to compromise and find some middle ground, and suddenly they have 45% support.
Exactly.
And then the other one just withers and dies.
The fact of the matter is,
Or goes over to the guys with 40. See, it's just the way the math works, unless you want to just sit and vote for somebody who's never going to win over and over and over again.
Exactly, which some people apparently want to do. The thing about libertarians is they're just conservatives in a lot of ways. In fact, I heard someone say that libertarianism is just Barry Goldwater's original conservatism as a party. You think they're going to really be any different than a Republican when it comes down to it?
It's more than that, though. I mean, because I don't think Goldwater wanted to privatize all roads.
Maybe not. Maybe
that's
it's
libertarianism.
Yeah.
I was involved in it for a little while, in my younger days, checking things out, because the whole freedom thing sounds great,
Right. Well, as far as I'm concerned, it was a false alternative whenever the conservatives realized that the young people were going away from the standard Republican Party because of all the religious nonsense. And so they made a false alternative that was still conservatism that would let them keep all their money and not pay taxes.
Right.
There's a question that I've had for a very long time now, and I've been trying to figure out where and who I can end up posing it to. And I really wonder what will finally happen when I get this to somebody who is of a conservative Republican ideology. And I'm using three separate words because some of these are kind of Venn diagram overlaps more than others. But the question is, for somebody who is Republican and or conservative and or ideological on this, what is it you think the government should look like?
Are you asking about the current crop or traditional conservatives?
I'm talking about the COVID is only killing 9%, not however many people. I'm talking the unmaskers. I'm talking the QAnoners. I'm talking about the people who are the vast majority, who are the I'm going to stand behind this guy. I don't care what's going on around me. I would love to know
Yeah.
what it is that they think the government should look like at this point, because I don't know that there is any clear answer anymore.
Again, they're kind of divorced from reality, like
Exactly.
we talked about before. And I think I've done a lot of thinking about this, and I know people who are in that camp. They think that Donald Trump, I hate to use the word, but he's their messiah,
Mm-hmm.
and he's doing everything right, and whatever he says is true, even though the thing he said the day before was the opposite. They're both true. Double think right there.
Right. He's the orange Christ, so he can't be wrong.
And case in point, Shujin, you know what the Republican Party platform is this time?
You know what?
Donald Trump. That's all it is. They took away all the policies. We don't have policies anymore.
That scared the shit out of me when I
Trumpism.
saw that.
Wait a minute.
They don't have a platform.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm not pulling a funny over here. Are you actually good and goddamn serious?
Yeah.
Yes.
They decided they didn't need to do a platform this time. We're just going to go with Donald Trump.
Whatever Trump says goes.
That is the platform.
Yeah.
I honestly did not know that.
I nearly.
Holy shit.
You can't
Yeah,
reason with a
shit my
cult, my
pants.
friend. You cannot
Yeah,
reason with a cult.
It is a call. Stephen Hansen from I can't remember the group. Has written a book about. He called it, if I remember correctly, the cult of Trump. And
It reminds me of the cult of Stalin, to be honest with you.
it's actually, there are a lot of parallels, but it's like basically what you have is you have the theocrats who are going to support Trump because Trump is going to allow them to do whatever the flip they want to do. So it's kind of one's feeding off of the other. The only reason they're supporting him is because he's letting them do whatever how they want to do. So if they want to go completely theocratic and try to have the Bible, superseding the Constitution, he don't care. Whereas, as long as he makes money on it, he doesn't give a crap. And that's what's happening. That's why, like, most people don't realize he's not picking these choices for courts, specifically the Supreme Court. Federalist Society is.
Would you like me
He
to
wouldn't-
read you the preamble to their 2020 platform here? Whereas,
go for it.
Whereas the Republican National Committee has significantly scaled back the size and scope of the 2020 Republican National Convention in Charlotte due to strict restrictions on gatherings and meetings out of concern for the safety of members. Let me get you to the part that here it is. Whereas had the platform committee been able to convene in 2020, would have undoubtedly unanimously agreed to reassert the party's strong support for President Donald Trump and his administration. And then they just tacked on their 2016 platform. They said, yeah, we're just supporting Trump. That's it. That's what the party put forward in 2020. They're not the Republicans. These are not the Republicans we were dealing with 8 years ago.
Apparently, conservatism as a philosophy is pretty shitty because they just dropped it like a.
Well, it's not
decision.
dead. It's just divorced from the current GOP.
Yeah.
These are not the people that ran Romney against Obama.
No.
Hate Romney. Love Romney. I don't care wherever you stand. I voted against him. Didn't agree with him. Him and his binders full of women, whatever. But Romney was understandable.
Correct.
You knew where he wanted to go. Maybe you didn't agree with him, but these aren't those people anymore.
No.
That's done. And I think I have hope that in 2018 and in the two elections in the middle that we had in 17 and 19, the blue waves that you've seen are all the people who were Romney, McCain Republicans. Who, yes, we disagreed with them. I mean, I disagree with John McCain a lot, but you know what? I agreed with John McCain a lot too.
He was, in my opinion, the last reasonable Republican.
I thought seriously about voting for that man in 2008. The VP choice is what swung me. It was Biden versus what's her name, Palin. You know, I mean, come on.
Palin, yeah.
Yeah, and there's.
Well, I mean, many moons ago, I used to be a Republican.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I was an Eisenhower Republican.
Oh man, Eisenhower would have a big problem with what's going on right now. I'll tell you that.
Tell me.
And it wasn't until I think it was 2 or 3 years after when I should have graduated from college is when I went to the Socialist Workers Party for a while, and then they took that off the voter registration. You couldn't even register as one. And then I'm registered as a Democrat, but I don't really consider myself a pure Democrat. I just don't agree with where the Republican Party has been going in the last.
Yeah, I'm independent right now.
Yeah, me
First
too.
time I voted for a Democrat for president was Al Gore.
Oh.
So, yeah, I voted for Republicans prior to that. And it was a hard vote for me, to be honest with you.
I hate to admit it, but I voted for Reagan.
The first time that I voted liberal for the Trix Rabbit to finally get goddamn cereal.
Right. I voted that way too. I felt bad for him.
I really wasn't
kids. Goddamn it!
I really wasn't political until I moved up here and got married. So mid '90s. But the thing that I remember the most that stuck with me was when at the end of Jimmy Carter's term, when I had heard that the White House had solar panels. That was great. We had a push to get standardization for the metric system. I thought that was brilliant.
Reagan took those panels down.
First day, if I remember correctly, had them taken down first day because why move forward? And I thought at 11 years old, why? It made no sense to me. You rolled back, you didn't want to go standardized with the rest of the world with the metric system. Why?
In any society, you're going to have a conservative versus progressive push-pull. That's normal. Some people don't want things to change, and some people do. What we have now is not normal. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
We are outside of normal. And you know what? Parties change.
Yeah.
Yep.
Parties change. I mean, the Republican Party was once the champion of the African American.
Yep.
And responsible for freeing the slaves.
Things change, man.
Things change, okay? And the Democratic Party was just kind of sketchy. But then they all bailed and formed the Dixiecrats, and then ended up joining the Republican Party.
Yep.
So things change. And what we're seeing now is change, and I don't know what this monster is becoming. It is akin to the party in 1984. It is akin to the Nazis of the 1930s, or the Bolsheviks.
Yeah.
It is that type of, or let me throw it out there. Jim Jones.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's akin to that.
It's a fiefdom.
Yeah.
They are literally drinking they are drinking the poison because it's hurting them.
Oh yeah, but all that matters is owning the noobs. Owning the libs. Liberals are bad, whatever that means. That's all that matters.
That's the them. That's one of the thems. And
us versus them.
Trust me, it's brilliant that they came up with more than one group to blame.
Right.
Strategically, kudos. The libs, the immigrants, Muslims.
It's whoever it is that is not us.
Them.
Yep.
That's all it
Well,
comes down to. And all you have to do is just just throw a rock, and suddenly you've got another group to be pissed off at.
yeah.
But then they
And
they
that's
sort
the
of
whole ideological mindset behind the feminist movement is us versus them, where the us is, ruling over them. And they started with abortion in the 70s. They added on the LGBT because most people didn't care about the abortion issue. They felt it was a private issue between the mother and, the family unit as far as with what happens. So they added on LGBT. Then it became after 9/11, it was the Muslim issue, and then now it's trans issue. So they just keep lumping on other thems to
And-
demonize.
And the funny
Well-
thing is, though, is because they're not the general person that they're targeting isn't smart enough to think about multiple things at once. So they all make it out like they're all one big conspiracy together. Somehow the gay, lesbian, pro-choice people are also trying to bring about Sharia law in the streets.
God,
When
like,
it's actually
Yeah.
them doing it.
Well, it's Christian Sharia, but yeah, it doesn't matter that they agree basically on everything with those Muslims. Their Muslims are brown, so they're bad.
Mhm.
But it's like nothing is more anti-LGBT and abortion rights than Sharia. We that are for those things are absolutely against 100% Sharia law. But because we don't want to just go kill Muslims, who most of which don't want Sharia law, suddenly we're on the extremist side. Because
Right.
you got to bunch it all together into one big meatball so they can swallow it all at once.
Well, chances are any Muslim that's here is here because they don't want Sharia law.
damn
Exactly.
Yeah.
They are in essence the Christians fleeing England
Yeah.
200 some years ago. They just want to be free to do their thing.
Let's pause a second.
And-
Yeah.
There are some folks who are probably wondering about some of these things because we've mentioned about liberals, which libertarianism is a completely different thing from liberals. All right. For those of you that are wondering, what has liberalism actually given us, or progressivism? What has it actually given us? Let's see, things like recognizing that people can get married regardless of what their biology is to each other. How about people with different skin colors are allowed to have their marriage legally recognized across state lines? How about things like people are allowed to have otherwise perfectly reasonably safe surgical procedures done without the interference of the government coming in? That the government has an obligation to tell people, look, you don't have to say a damn thing that we can use against you because you made a mistake in something that you said. Anybody that wants to wonder about that one, just watch the interrogation scene from My Cousin Vinny. Those of you who are from Brooklyn know full well that's exactly the kind of thing that, people wonder, what the hell is it good for what progressives want, and then what is it good for that conservatives want? Generally
tell you what.
speaking, the conservatives want to hold on to what is instead of allowing things to move forward to what will be.
Or in some respects want to move back to things that were as they were before they got better. And let's talk about liberals. What do liberals give us? A 40-hour work week?
Weekends off.
Weekends
Kids-
off, yes.
Kids not working in coal mines.
Kids not working. Yes, laws against child labor. Leave if you're pregnant.
The East River in New York that you no longer can walk across because there are no more Buicks in it.
Right?
The concept that people with dark skin are people, not property.
Right.
And that
There
was
you
a
go.
liberal Republican.
Mm-hmm.
So
less fossil fuel being used per vehicle.
Women's right to vote.
Yeah, right to vote. Women's right to have their own credit card.
Yep.
Women's right to rent a hotel room without a man to tell them.
You know, doesn't
can.
it
and that's
seem,
all RBG, by the way.
Exactly.
Yes.
and
yes,
doesn't
it
it
is.
seem like when the vast majority of progressive stuff is accumulated and looked at as an overarching curve, doesn't it seem like more and more these things add up to, yeah, you know what? The playing field is actually being leveled for everybody, little bit at a time, little bit at a time, little bit at a time. And again, that whole fair play thing from earlier, you know, it sounds more and more like that's exactly what's going on. And you know, I don't understand how anybody can actually look at that and go, yeah, you know what, everybody having a fair shake properly and making up the differences when they don't, you know, nah, I don't think that's good.
Because you're trying to combat dogma with facts.
There you go.
Okay? Keep your government hands off my Medicare.
Yep.
Right. But does everybody remember that when Obama was in there? Keep your government hands off my Medicare.
I remember it. Yep.
I remember
So-
the yelling and screaming
yeah.
about death
No!
panels. And, wait a minute. Yelling and screaming about death panels. And isn't that exactly the kind of thing that's been going on now of, well, you know what? Those people who are in their 70s and 80s and maybe even higher, if they get sick and die from COVID, well, you know, it's the price
So
that we
be
have
it.
to pay.
Yeah.
They died because of diabetes or heart problems. They didn't die because of COVID. So we can't count that as COVID.
Meanwhile,
God, you
meanwhile,
hear that
another
one
condition.
too?
Meanwhile, 10 years from now, the students who are in high school or younger, 10 years from now, are going to be out there in PE, track and field, running a mile in the middle of lacrosse season, falling over, literally falling over dead from a massive heart attack from complications of this goddamn virus now.
All right. Oh, no, but if you have a comorbidity, that's not really the virus. I've heard people say this.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've heard people
it's-
talking, and I'm like, okay, that means that AIDS never killed anyone.
Right.
Well, AIDS doesn't exist.
Right.
Well, it exists, but it's not fatal. Because AIDS doesn't actually kill you. It has no symptoms of its own.
It's the yeast infection or the cold or whatever.
Got you. And then from the shock of being wounded, your heart stopped. Well, you died of a heart attack, not really
Yeah,
from
so it
me
wasn't
shooting
murder.
you, right? Yeah. It's ridiculous. And again, divorced from reality.
Reality,
Exactly.
yeah.
And I've had
Well,
people
that's
say also 200,000 deaths isn't that many. We have that many every year. No, we do not have trucks full of corpses every year. This doesn't happen.
The thing is I can see their point, but we don't have 200,000 deaths in 6 months. That's
If
over
you're
the
gonna-
course of the year. It's
If
like
you're going
always
to blow
comparing-
off 200,000 deaths, don't ever bring up
Exactly.
9/11 again.
Exactly.
That was only 3,000. What the hell are you talking about? Oh, yeah, and it was a little property damage, but we fixed it, right?
yeah.
No big deal.
They didn't die from the
Eh.
planes anyway. They died from the building collapsing.
Right? It
Yeah.
wasn't really the plane. It was, you're right.
I
It was,
just had a conversation not yesterday, the day before, on that exact point, because we're 20 years removed from 9/11, so it's not. I don't want to say it's not a big deal, but it's like we're currently in a pandemic that's claimed 200,000 lives in our country alone.
Yep.
And oh my God, it was. I want to say it was funny. I mean, the conversation, but it was like.
but they follow a sociopathic leader,
Yeah.
and he doesn't care.
No, yeah.
It's just,
It's
it is what it is. That's what he
Yeah.
said.
Whatever.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
And he
it
also
is what
said,
it
well,
is.
you know, the blue states have had more deaths than the red states. You know, if you take away the blue states, not realizing that he's pointing the finger at himself.
Yeah.
The
Right?
blue states, which have more population and which he
He-
did not help and got hit early on.
Well, yeah, New York,
Yeah.
basically. But even if true, what he's saying is because there was no national response, the death
Mhm.
rates were uneven. Because you're the president of all the states, right? All 50,
Oh yeah, but he wants
But-
to declare some of them to be like fucking not.
not real states, yeah. Not real.
Well, he wants to talk to the president of Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I just ran the numbers with a rough value of 200,000. That means that to date, going by January 1 as an arbitrary starting point here in the US, that averages out to over 5,200 people a week
Mhm.
as an average since.
Been as high as 1,200 a day.
That's my whole town.
That's a 9/11 every 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the number's actually
5,283, I think it was what it was.
I mean, with the county I live
mean,
in PA, we're
Number of-
less than 5,000.
And
That
I
would
don't
wipe
know.
out our
I don't know how you get through to these people. I mean, either there's a global conspiracy, most of Americans are in on it, and most of the world is in on it, or Trump is lying. Those are the two
Right.
choices. And
Yep.
how they choose the former over the latter, I can't tell you.
Oh, that reminds me of something that happened to me about 3 months ago. I had to go to the post office. I hated it. Middle of the fucking COVID, but I have to go to the post office because someone broke our mailboxes here at the apartment. They're not delivering packages, so I get my mask on and go over there. And I'm in line with some nice people all wearing masks. And there's one guy there without it on. I notice he has a 8-year-old girl with him, and he doesn't have a mask on either. Well, that's interesting. And he gets to the front, and there's this piece of plexiglass shield, they've installed. And the little girl grabs and says, "What is this, Daddy? Is this a swing?" He says, "No, that's a shield to keep the virus for the virus we told you about that doesn't exist from getting to you. It's all made. Don't worry, it'll go away after the election."
Yep.
Well, it's like 4 weeks ago, I was walking next door to Sheets which is a convenience store, and there's
Yeah, I know them.
a wall, and I sat on the wall, just my mask, and this lady was out there smoking cigarette, no mask on. She goes, "That's not gonna do any good," and I'm like, "Well, just so you know, I ain't fucking wearing it for you. I'm wearing it for me. So you can basically go F off and die."
Mhm.
She looked at me. I'm like, "Listen, lady, I've had 2 strokes at that time. If I get COVID, I'm dead because I'm diabetic." And
The problem
I have,
is, though, you're actually
and-
wearing
and
it for
she
them.
was-
Yeah, you are.
Because
Yeah.
the effectiveness of the mask is not for you.
Oh, I know that. I was just being facetious.
It's
because
for
I-
Right.
you not to spread it to other
And that's
people.
why they won't wear it because they don't care about other people.
My
Yeah.
response to them is quite simple. Did your mother ever tell you to cover your mouth when you cough?
Mhm.
That's what a mask is for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But see, if I cover my mouth with my hand when I cough, then I touch everything in the store. I'm spreading this shit all around.
Right. That's
So
true.
I'm
That's why they
wearing
tell
a
you-
mask.
Right. When it comes to me, I told you I lost my job, and I have been looking, but not very hard because I have terrible asthma, and I'm currently
Oh,
dealing with
yeah,
it
I've heard that.
right now, and it's really impacting my quality of life pretty hard. And if I get COVID, I'm probably
you're-
not going to survive that shit.
Yeah.
Or not survive well. I mean,
No.
Yeah.
No, exactly. Plus my 80-year-old parents, I go visit them and have it.
And
No.
by the way, Shujan brought up an excellent point. We're focusing on 200,000 dead,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just
not
dead.
not the people who've had long-term damage, not the people who've spent 3 weeks on a respirator and made it through.
Exactly.
Well, a friend of mine who is a marathon runner had COVID 3 months ago. She cannot climb the stairs yet.
And we don't know what the damage is going to be.
No, the long
Exactly.
term is not known.
Yeah.
No,
And now more and more kids
Yeah.
are getting it.
that's why.
Which is why the business arm of the GOP is scrambling to kill ACA. So COVID could be a pre-existing condition, so insurance companies don't have to cover it.
Right.
Yep. Oh,
'Cause
that's blatantly obvious.
That's a big pot of money coming out because that's what they're worried about. They're worried about the long-term effects, and you get sick in 10 years because you had COVID this year.
Yeah.
You know,
You have permanent goddamn lung damage.
right.
Yeah.
You're going to need treatment, and if you can't get insurance to cover it,
You can go fuck yourself and die. Just what they want.
so
When
don't
my-
tell me there's no difference between Biden and Trump. Right there. That's
Right
just
there.
lives. It's lives.
Yeah.
It's lives. We're not even talking about, we're not
It's
even talking about
human
rights
lives.
anymore. We're talking lives.
when my wife was going through cancer treatments, and she would go for radiation, she ended up a lot of times scheduled around the same time as another patient, so she kind of took note because this kid was 9 years old. A 9-year-old little girl who was coming in on a regular basis for cancer treatments in radiation. What is going to happen to these kids who are in grade schools now, who are coming down with it? We talked about that. Like I said, man, 10 years from now, these kids are going to be in high school and they're just going to fall over dead in PE because their heart's just going to go.
Oh yeah.
And you can recover from a virus and still carry it. And they can reemerge later in life. I mean, we see that with shingles.
And the damage done by a virus can lead to cancer.
Yeah.
Yep.
We do, there's this huge unknown, which is why what we do now is so important.
Exactly.
November is so important. And anything that takes us a step in the direction we want to go is a step in the direction we want to go. I don't understand, and I'm going to pick on the left for a minute. I don't understand the attitude. They're not giving me the policy I want. Therefore, I'll take 4 steps in the other direction. You're just getting farther from your goal.
You're doing what Trump wants you to do at that point. Not voting.
I
Voting
hope
third party.
I hope that it's just pride talking with a lot of people. And in the end, they'll do the right thing.
I hope so too, because it makes me mad because I have a couple of friends like that, 2 friends, and I've not argued with them because arguing with friends on Facebook is a waste of time. End up arguing with a third cousin, second remove about whether black people are human or not.
Right.
But I've got a couple of friends on Facebook, and they're liberals and they're good progressive people, and they're like, well, I can't in good conscience vote for either one. I'm like, well, you can stand on your heel of I don't know, was it Plato who talked about what does your decision make you into? I don't know, whatever, that ethic where it's about me and what I become by doing what I want to do. I'm going to be this righteous person on the hill watching while people who actually suffer, while not white dudes, suffer from your decision. I think sometimes the ends have to be included in your moral calculus, not just the means.
I think you made an interesting point. You were arguing on Facebook, and I think this is part of the problem, which makes determining what direction we're going to go in is, I think people on Facebook, and I've noticed this in some of my conversations, with other people is that on Facebook, they say one thing, but in real life, I hope they're not as ignorant as they are on Facebook. And it might
Sometimes,
happen with
yeah.
Insta.
Yeah, you
Look,
sort
You
of
know,
double
I
down
mean,
on Facebook. Yeah, I know. what
It's
you
yeah,
mean.
more.
they'll double down and just because,
Yeah.
you know, they want to be the asshole. They want to be the troll.
It boils
You
down
know?
to simplicity, though. You only have three choices. Either Donald Trump will be inaugurated in January and you will support him, or Biden will be inaugurated in January and you will support him, or you will abstain. You will do nothing and let others make the decision for you.
Right.
Now, if you choose to support Trump, you're responsible for whatever Trump does. Sorry. You supported him.
And more so,
It-
and hold on. And
If
more
you
so,
choose to abstain, you're responsible for whoever gets in there and whatever they do, because you did nothing to prevent it.
right, but backing up a second, if you vote for Donald Trump and support him, that means that everything that has happened through this administration over the last 3.5 years,
Not a deal breaker. Yeah.
not only not a deal breaker, but is something that you would actively condone and would with, you know, I can't even say with a pull of a lever because they don't have those machines anymore, and I fucking miss those things.
Not even would
I know.
are. Not even would are. You are actively condoning it.
At least in
You
home.
are endorsing it.
Well,
But if you choose
quote-
to do nothing, you are responsible if he gets into office again and does more, because you did nothing to prevent it.
Right. Oh no, but
Inaction is an action.
I voted for John Hinkle the party candidate for the Exactly What I Believe party, who got 3 votes.
Yeah,
So
You know what? And let me throw another one out there, and people are probably going to hate me. Green Party people, if you're going to vote Green Party, vote by mail. Okay, because you're harming the environment because you're not furthering any environmental positions by voting green. But what you're actually going to burn fossil fuels and increase your carbon footprint by going to your polling location. So you're actually having an overall net negative effect on the environment voting green, unless maybe you vote by mail, although we have to consider the paper and
Yeah, I was
the
gonna
resources
say,
that
gotta
are consumed in that, because your person isn't going to win. All they can have the best ideas, but if you have to win for your ideas to count. I mean, Hillary would have appointed different judges. Great, but she didn't win.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter. If you lose, it doesn't matter.
you have to be practical at some point. You have to be pragmatic. I know it sucks that we don't have this perfect candidate that could possibly win that we could vote for, because I would definitely vote for that perfect candidate. We don't. It's the real world. You're going to have to deal with that real world. Your ideals are great, and I love it. I'm right there with you.
But you have to get to the net ideals of 330 million, and compromise is required.
Exactly.
To a certain degree, that's right. You know what I'm
It
waiting
has
for?
to be.
You know what I'm waiting for? I'm waiting to find out what the number is who voted versus who didn't. Last time, it was approximately 1/3 Democrat, 1/3 Republican, and 1/3 who did not vote at all.
Correct.
I want to see that did not vote number go down precipitously.
And that's
Zero
the
is possible.
apathy that we were talking about earlier, though.
Yep.
People
The
just
Republicans
don't
love
care.
that, because we know for a fact the Republicans have figured out a decade ago that the fewer people vote, the better they do. And they've done everything they can to reduce the number of people that vote.
And that's part of the 10% solution that they came up with in 1985.
Yep. Yeah, I mean
Just to backtrack to borrow a quote from someone who just recently died. If you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen to side with the oppressors.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think RGB hit the nail on the head with that one.
Oh, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly, and thank you for quoting her. Because
She's was one of my idols.
She's very, very quotable because she was very, very right most of the time.
Yeah.
There's a few things that a little iffy, but
Yes.
as
If
far
you
as her
demand
legal, far as her legal mind, you can't. I don't think anybody compares.
if you demand
in
perfection,
modern
you'll never get
times.
what you want. So
Well, the
Yeah,
number of people
exactly.
I agree with 100% of the time is a grand total of 1.
exactly.
And you're looking at him.
I try
That's
not
the
to.
only person that I agree with all the time.
No, and that's-
Wherever I go, there I am.
You know what? An hour later, I might actually disagree with that guy.
Yeah, he changes his mind a lot, flip flopper.
Yep.
I hadn't really been planning as far as to how long we were going to be going. So are we good to finish at the top of the hour?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
I think that'd be good.
that's as
Yeah.
far as I can go, actually.
No, that's good because
I'm drinking vodka, and if I go past that, I'll be too drunk to podcast.
no, that'll put you right up to the level of AOA right there.
That's right.
How about how
I'm
about?
surprised I'm still awake.
No, it's
Yeah.
okay.
We were known to have a drink or two in the bar room once upon a time.
Yes, you were. Yeah.
couple of times.
Cheers to you. Here's
Yeah.
this drinks to you.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I hardly drink at all now.
that's all right.
This is Diet Coke.
That's okay.
That's good though. I need to cut down myself.
You'll be happy to know that every once in a while I go find a random beer for me to try every once in a while, and there's a lot of times where I try stuff and it's just like, yeah, it's beer.
You ever
Yeah.
had a sour? You ever had a sour beer?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
I sampled one. I will go as far as to say it was a unique experience. I don't know that I would go for a full beer drink of it, but I will probably end up trying sometime.
I do like sours, but I usually have one and then go on to something else. There was one I had recently that was a watermelon sour. It's really, really good.
That sounds tasty.
Yeah, it was good.
I still love me some beer. It just doesn't like me the way it used to.
Right, understandable.
Yeah, my liver's taking a kind of a beating. Not just from lifestyle. I have hemochromatosis, so I have got fatty liver from that and a lot of iron in my liver. But so like if I drink, I have to drink on a Friday because I need both days to recover. No, really, I will
got you.
literally be
I got you.
sick. I mean, I've even been known to run a fever.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I
I got you.
kind of avoid it, but I still love it. I still miss it.
It's tasty.
It is. It's delicious. So I occasionally have one. I can do that, and then every once in a while I'll just like throw caution to the wind and be stupid, and I better have 2 days to
2
recover.
days to recover. Okay, yeah.
There you go. I wanted to kind of levity out of all that so that we could kind of deal with the last piece of it all. We've covered a lot of pieces. We've covered a lot of groundwork, so that with HCTV, a lot of the way that we end up talking about whatever the topic is going to be is to kind of get a lay of the land, which takes a far lot longer than what I'd really like, because some of these things are just too goddamn complicated. But I think it's only fair that we kind of deal with the last piece of it all, since we've gone through, we've railed about all the shit that's gone on. And it's you guys who spent the last 2.5 hours with us to kind of feel a little bit a little bit closer with the families that we've had. How do we deal with the next couple of months? We've kind of skirted around the biggest issue of the whole damn thing, which is going to be the ramp up into the election, and then the couple of months that's gonna go to absolute shit. If you thought this whole dumpster fire was one thing,
You gotta put your head down. You gotta vote.
no.
Yeah, I
It's
think
it's
Bill,
not no.
Bill
It,
has a point.
yes, but
I mean, it's gonna suck. Look, and maybe it's my background. I'm retired military, so I've been places that suck. And
It's true.
what you do is you get through it and you take one step forward and you think about the generations that have come before us that gave us Roe v. Wade, that gave us all the wonderful liberal things that you guys listed earlier. And how did they do that? They didn't just insist on it. They put their heads down and they took a step. And then once they took that step, they took another step. And that's what we have to do. And if we do not do that, then we are going to be swept away.
Well,
It is
I
going
think-
to happen.
I think
Remember,
we'll
I
have to-
predicted in 2016. I'm telling you, if this goes the other way, these last 4 years will seem like nothing.
Yeah.
Put a Donald Trump who doesn't have to worry about re-election back in that office.
That's what scares me.
Well, I harken back to like when Trump actually won, and it's like we were talking, not us specifically, but a lot of people were talking, oh my God, what are we gonna do? And it goes to what Bill says is we got through these 4 years, granted not unscathed, but we got through it. And it's basically what he said. We got to take it one step at a time and do what we got to do.
And, you know, there's a lot to be encouraged about. This is not 2016. There are a lot of
Exactly.
factors that have. Look, Clinton hate, I mentioned earlier.
And not
Another factor. Who wasn't sure Clinton was going to win?
We took it for
Who?
granted, really.
Yes, we did. Everybody. Are we taking this one for granted? No. And I
not
bet
even a little
you
bit.
there are a lot of voters. And I'm not asking them to identify themselves, and I never have. But they're people who got busy that day. Oh, I just can't make it to the polls. I got to pick up the kids. You know, and this thing is, and maybe they tuned out weeks before because the thing was just over. There's no way Trump's going to win, so we know what's going to happen. So that is not a factor this time. Nobody is daring to predict that a Biden victory. I'm hoping for one. I want it, and not only a Biden victory, but a decisive victory.
Damn straight.
Fantastic.
It can't come down to one state because then they're going to fight it every way they can. But if it's decisive enough, I don't care how he stacks the Supreme Court, they're not going to hear it. They're not.
No,
They're going to
exactly.
go. They're going to go. Who cares if we overturn Pennsylvania because you still lose,
Right.
so you don't have standing. So he needs to win by more than one state's worth of votes. If that makes sense to anybody.
No, it makes perfect sense.
I tell you, if young people just got out and voted, it'd be a shoo-in. He's not getting reelected.
Excuse me.
The problem is, it's got to be young people going out.
She didn't want to walk through. She has no pants on.
Well, it's not just the young people.
Neither do I, but
I think might help is the fact that he is attacking Social Security. And I know with talking with my dad, and my dad's 92, so, and he's a poli-sci major. He's worked in the system, so he knows, and he's very active even now. And it's like he said, it's like he's fucking with my Social Security.
I am super encouraged by the support of seniors.
Yes.
oh yes,
Because-
those from the silent generation, as opposed to the baby boomers.
Well,
They don't like him at all.
Well, the baby boomers too. I mean, the baby boomer, he's getting more. He's winning amongst boomers.
Right?
Yes.
So
Not me.
And let's be honest. Fun fact here: the most politically active generation since we've been tracking is the boomers.
Right.
Always has been. Sorry,
Yes.
millennials. Not you.
Oh yeah.
Because the millennials, when they were the youth vote, and they're not anymore. Sorry, guys. Never cracked 50%.
Oh, well, some of them didn't know how to get stamps. You know that whole story.
Yeah, but I mean, they never did it, and neither did
Oh.
Gen X, and that's me. We never cracked 50%
This-
either.
Same.
The Boomers did when they were the youth vote.
Here's the
Right.
thing, though.
The Boomers hit 60% when they were the youth vote.
The thing that pissed me off as
We could learn something. Is all I'm saying.
a Gen Xer. By the way, Jazz had also said, "Too bad I can only vote in Canada, or I'd help vote Trump out." Thank you. We greatly appreciate that. Stay on your goddamn side of the border. Don't open it. Anyway,
Except let me in, please.
um,
Please.
but
Apparently, not letting anybody in right now, right?
no, that's
blame him
a
bit.
thing. I'll tell you about that in a minute, though. The thing that pisses me off as a Gen X or whatever the hell it's supposed to be, I was told in grade school, your generation will be the first stewards of the 21st century. I've never forgotten that. And I think I was told this in like 3rd grade, and it's stuck with me ever since. Here's the thing. Where was my generation when it was time for us as 30-year-olds to get into political office? Where was there a spot where we were being explained how to do it? Where were we going to be able to pick up the slack and take the baton and move forward? The people who were the generation before us and 2 before us who were squatting in political office who didn't want to get out.
Well, they're still there.
Exactly.
That's
I
the
mean-
problem.
That's
They
the
are,
problem.
Yep.
I mean, all right, here you go. Trump, Clinton, George W. Bush, all born the same year.
Mm. Wow. Yep.
Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Donald Trump, all born the same year. So you want to talk about not having moved? Since 1992, we've been electing presidents from Barack Obama was the only, and he's still a boomer technically, but barely. He's barely a boomer.
Yeah, he's, like I said earlier, he's 59 years old now.
Right. And I'm an early boomer and I'm 50. Or I'm an early Xer and I'm 50.
Right.
Gen X starts,
I'm-
depends how you read it, 65 or 68.
51.
All right,
I'm
so
a true
you're
Gen Xer,
an
I'm
Xer
45.
too. So we're a smaller generation than the one before us. Boomers were huge, spanned
Sure.
20 years. We're also come on, let's be honest. We're talking about our generation as a whole. We're a bit of a slacker generation.
Oh, well,
We really
that-
were.
We
We-
also believed bullshit a lot. We were very much a gullible generation.
And
Well,
we were
what-
party hardy in the 80s, man.
What
I
did
mean,
we?
that
Well, what did we
that was
grow
our
up with?
mentality.
We grew up
Yep.
with the guys who were coming up, the evangelicals who were coming up, who were telling us that Dungeons and Dragons is going to steal our soul. We're going to go into
Right.
into the sewers, and some of us aren't going to come out again. That vinyl albums were the way for the devil to come through for you. I mean,
Yeah, if you played them backwards.
yeah. You know, we had so much that we could have done had actual proper education been done.
Absolutely.
All the
But to
all
be
the,
honest-
all the mythology talk would have gone away. All the believing the stuff that was absolutely insane would have gone away, and we would have continued the technological innovation that we had started with the end of World War II.
Kind of did in the IT field anyway.
We did in the IT field, yes. Gen X basically made the modern computer age. We also made tarot card reading a normal part of life.
I used to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but we were the party generation. We were the consumer generation. We were the age of excess. That was us. I mean, I'm not speaking
we
about
were
individuals, but as a group, that's where
Right.
we fell. Come on.
we were nihilistic sort of that's the right word. We had a very downer kind of thing going on.
We thought we were going to be the last generation in a lot of ways growing up.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
that's what we were taught. I mean,
We were cynical. That's what I was looking for, and for
well,
good
and we grew up
reason.
under the threat of nuclear annihilation.
Exactly. We had a reason to
That's-
be cynical.
So, come on, as kids, did you not think at some point that everything was going to be a wasteland?
Some kid was going to hack into the fucking computer and play a video game, and it's going to launch a nuclear missile.
Yeah, or the two
Yep.
sides were just going to start shooting at each other.
It's going to
They
start
almost
shooting each
did.
other. Exactly.
I mean,
They almost
the
did.
the nuclear apocalypse was something that we took as a given. So is it any wonder that we were more interested in having a good time than looking further down the road?
oh, right. We had things like we had all these dystopian movies, RoboCop. I don't know, things like that, where
Max.
Mad Max. Either the world blew up and we're living in the fallout, or there's just one giant corporation that owns everything. So yeah,
Yeah,
we
Blade
became-
Runner. I mean, we
Yeah.
could go on and on.
Exactly.
Any vision of the future was dystopian at that point. Escape from New York.
Yep.
Escape from
That's a good
LA. I mean, the
Yep.
future
And
was
so-
a bad place for us.
I
That's how we
remember
were
in,
raised.
in school doing the nuclear drills where we had to, curl up. First, it was under our desk, and then they moved it into the hallway.
Yep.
I remember taking a tour into the fallout shelter, and they explained like the MREs that were down there and yada yada. I'm kind of on the cusp, depending on what I'm considered last of the baby boomers,
Right.
born
But
in
I mean-
64. But I was always taught as a kid, like I've been politically active since I was like 10 years old.
I mean, and that,
I-
but maybe that contributes to our skepticism too, right?
Yeah.
Because none of that
And-
happened.
Nope.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
mean-
got it later on instead of earlier.
I mean, so I always grew up with the fear of, because Buffalo, New York would have been one of the first targets because of its proximity to the Peace Bridge and access into Canada. And back in the 70s, that was a big thing. So we were always taught, if we have a war, we're doomed. And I grew up with that. And you become immune to it as you get older, because it's like, oh, that never happened. And I think, look, people like me that are on that cusp, we're kind of stuck. But I think I had a little bit easier because, my dad being a poli-sci major, I was always into politics.
Yeah.
And I became more so with the whole gay rights issue, but in the 80s was when it started for me, and then I got more and more into it, and then I learned about dominionism,
I think
and all bets were off after that.
the key difference
it-
between us and them, the new generations, millennials and what are they, Gen Z after them?
Yeah, I think
Their boogeyman is climate change.
yes.
But there's
They
a
see a
difference.
future, but they see, and in a way they're right, they have more power to affect that
Right.
Mhm.
than we did. I mean, we had no power over the Soviet
I mean,
Union.
nuclear proliferation is still a problem. We just don't talk about it anymore.
True.
Right, but we're not worried about mass launches anymore.
Right. No. we're
I
not.
mean, you might see a city go in a mushroom cloud, but you're not going to see all cities.
Right.
But so they have, and climate change can be combated.
Yep.
And it's not people on the other side of the world that they're worried about. It's the people down the street. So it makes them more active because they
Mhm.
can affect their
That's true.
boogeyman.
It's true. Also, with Gen Xers, we were kind of told, things are going to have been looking up all this time. We baby boomers, we got good jobs, we got good houses, we got cars. It's just going to get better for you. It's just going to have this wonderful life where you can be anything you want to be. You could be an astronaut. And then we kind of got hoodwinked. It didn't quite work out that way. And then the next generation saw that And they didn't come into it with the sort of wide-eyed optimism that we came into it with. They're like, I already see that the Gen Xers kind of got a bum deal, and I think we're going to get an even worse one.
Yeah, you're right.
And they really do. They're not. They got a bunch of student debt that they owe to a private company, which is evil, and they can't get jobs, even though they all have college degrees, because we tell them you can be anything you want, but no, you can't. No, not really, unless you're rich.
You could get a job, but it's not going to pay off that massive debt that you had to get the job in the first place.
Exactly. No.
Like you need a master's degree to be a teacher, right? But they're only going to pay you $35,000 a year.
Yeah.
And what the hell's the point of that?
Yeah.
How do you get there from here? You know?
Yeah, there was a thing that I did not know about this one until some years ago when I would do like a newscast sort of thing. 26 September 1983. There was an early warning radar station for Russia. Sorry, the Soviet Union, where they picked up a nuclear first strike from the United States. And the guy manning the station blew it off.
Wow.
And then several additional blips showed up on his radar. And he blew it off again. And he was reprimanded quietly and sent off to who only knows where the hell he ended up. It turned out his orders were that such an item on his radar necessitated by order a nuclear response. And he didn't do it because he figured out, because he was smart, the United States would never send a single missile or even 2, 3, 4. It would be an overwhelming number. This is a glitch in the system. That son of a bitch saved the planet in 1983.
I
And
remember when
he
that
may not have been the only one.
He may not have
I
been the
don't
only
know
one.
it seems like the kind of thing they wouldn't talk about, right?
And they didn't for
There's
years.
actually an article online. I don't have it handy, but there is an article online that talks about that incident.
Yeah.
And it goes into a lot of in-depth analysis.
See, now that cat looks like it's been irradiated.
Yeah, I posted a beautiful little kitty.
Yeah. And I will post into the live chat so that folks can see it later. But I did not know about that at the time. I was 14 years old. The world could have ended as we know it. And I was a teenager.
People talk about heroes and people who do good, and it'll usually be someone who risked his life to shoot someone in a war. That guy did more good than 99% of the heroes that we talk about today.
True.
And we don't even know his name.
I think that's something, being that we're getting to the top of the hour, I think I'm going to close my part with a recognition of that and encouragement for those of you that made it to the end of this whole damn thing. Yeah, we talked about a lot of the lay of the land, and maybe not as much of how do we cope with it all individually at this point to help you guys out with it all.
It's really harder to talk about, honestly.
It is. But here's what I'm going to end my part with. For all of you who are wondering, how the hell do I deal with this? No matter what it's going to be for the next couple of months. The next couple of months are going to be really, really tough, no matter what. The people who end up doing good, a lot of the times you're never going to know. You will not know who they are or what they did. All you're going to know is somebody did something right. Something has turned out the way that we want it to because it is for the greater good when all is said and done. Maybe it's a little thing, maybe it's a big thing, but you're probably not going to know. And if you happen to be one of those people who did good, who did, even if it's just a little thing, you said a hi to somebody, you gave a smile, you made somebody feel better, you handed out a can of Coke to somebody who is working on a road in the middle of summer as you're driving through a construction site just to be nice to them. And yes, I did that once. You don't necessarily need to be recognized for it later. Sometimes just doing a good, just one little good, is enough. Beth, what last kind of item do you want to have for the folks that made it to the end of this whole damn thing?
I think it really comes down to what Bill said. We got to take it one step at a time. I mean, there's not much we can do about Scouters. That's pretty much a done deal. Get out, vote. If your person doesn't win, who you vote for, then we're just going to have to, like Bill said, one step at a time. We've gotten this far. We've made gains. We can do it again. And for me, it's really been driven home the last 6 years. I just take one step at a time. That's all I can do. That's all any of us can do.
Fair. Bill?
Not just dark months, but folks, there's dark decades ahead. There's going to be losses. It never ends. One step at a time. One brick at a time. That's how they built the Great Wall of China. One brick at a time. But I hear you can see that fucker from space. So, just keep plugging. And remember, when you feel discouraged, when you feel like it's too much and it's over. And I've seen people posting that on social media. It's over. We're done. No, it never ends. And the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. That's all I got.
Stephen?
Not much left to say, but to reiterate that idea. Things are bad. Things are bleak. Never give up. Can't give up. Some people believe that what makes good triumph over evil are little things. As you mentioned, helping someone here and there, being kind, being generous, thinking of others before yourselves. And it does feed back. It does help. And some people want a revolution, take up arms, tear down the system, build up a better one. And I can't say I'm 100% against that, but right now, there's still hope. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. It may be the train coming, but the best you can do is to keep going on, keep trying. Because even when we lose, the good things we do have an impact and an effect, make things better. Ultimately, as a humanist, we're trying to alleviate as much suffering as we can. Every little bit we do helps alleviate some amount of suffering. But the most important thing we can do in this country right now is vote. Vote. That is literally the least you can do. That's all I have to say.
I'm just going to add one piece that's kind of aside, and I will, forgive me, I'm going to speak on behalf of all of us on this show, as well as all of us from Holy Crap the Vlogcast, from the Atheists On Air family, Beyond the Trailer Park, from Barroom Atheist, from No Religion Required, from any and all of us who have been circles with each other. I said this is a reunion because that's what you do with family. For those of you that are listening, for those of you that are wondering, for those of you that are worried, we're still going to be here. Individual shows come and go. The family is still here. If you need, reach out to any of us. Reach out to all of us. The reason why I got this one in particular started was because there was a post over on No Religion Required. Even though they can't be with us tonight, it's okay. The family is still here for you. Thank you for being part of our circles. Bill and Susie, Barroom Atheist, thank you for all that you guys have done, and thank you for the encouragement you keep giving out to all of us. I really do appreciate you guys taking time.
Thanks for hanging, man. Yeah, well, you saw the grandkids.
Yeah.
There are things we have to do.
That's all right.
Peace out, man.
Thank you, man. You take care of yourself. And I'm assuming that the back catalog is still available for folks to find eventually, perhaps.
I haven't checked, but it should still be out there. I never took it down. I'll check.
Fair enough.
If not, I have them all on a hard drive. I could repost them somewhere.
Well, we'll see about that sometime.
Or send me an email. I'll email you the files. I don't care.
So, contact-wise, Barroom Atheist still has a page over on Facebook. How else would you like anybody to get to you?
Well, that's probably the best way. I do notice when I get new likes, I still get new likes. So I assume the episodes are still out there somewhere.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, it's been years, and I still get new likes, and it makes me feel good. Like, some people are, still maybe benefiting from. I mean, we went through the gambit on there, but I hope that they get something out of it. I don't think we'll ever be back, but I never say never. But yeah, just reach out there, drop me a message on Facebook through there. I get it on my phone, and I'll respond. I do enjoy hearing from people, and if you need something, if you need somebody to talk to, we're around.
Thank you, man. Professor, it's been a long time, and
It has.
Again, thank you very, very kindly for take the time out. I'm, of course, always hoping best for you, and you take care of yourself. Obviously, we know full well that by name, Atheists On Air isn't on anymore, but you're still kind of obviously you're still out there representing. So thank you for being able to do that.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for saying so. Yes, I was trying to start a new podcast with some friends about food. It kind of went the way of all flesh, though. I'm out there. I still have a Facebook page for Professor Stephen, although I don't look at it very often. I'm kind of busy with my personal life right now, but I'm still out there. You never know. I may pop up from time to time.
Yeah, appreciate it, though, man. Seriously, thank you very much.
Very welcome.
And Beth, well, yeah, everything is the way that it is. Thank you for trying to pick up where Heretic Woman left off. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it's the least I can do for her. I mean, even though Beyond the Trailer Park is no more, regretfully, I did attempt to start another podcast. Right now it's on a hiatus until I can talk better and not fall asleep 5 minutes after I sit down at the computer. So right now I'm just focusing on trying to get healthy again. But yeah, you can find me on Facebook. I'm always puttering around. But and I do still check the Beyond the Trailer Park page, and like Barroom Atheist said, we're still getting a whole hell of a lot of likes, but you are also on that page, so that could be a crossover between the two. So never know what will happen in the future. So we'll see.
Fair enough. So, everybody, on behalf of all of us, and I guess I would not normally speak on behalf of Cash, but I will kind of paraphrase what he's said to us collectively. If you've got the opportunity and you can help folks, and even if it's going to cost you a little bit, and you'll never see that money back, but you knew you were going to save, you were going to help just one person, would you do it? For us collectively, the answer was yes.
Absolutely.
So, you all take care of yourselves. Know that we're here for you. And if anybody is kind of wondering, what can one person end up doing? How many podcasts? How many people? How many fans? How many conventions? Because of one person. So, if you'd like to be in touch with me, again, the show is Holy Crap the Vlogcast on YouTube, on Facebook, online, pretty much everywhere. holycrapthevlogcast.com. And we will be back again for our usual set Sunday night. So until that point, I wish you all, as always, the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. My lady, 15 years on, I am still in love with you. Matane Fujin, I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. To you all, peace and long life. Live long and prosper. Till the next time we get together, everyone, as always, good night. And the stream is closed.